Fantastic. Well, thank you so much to Michael and the gang and to that great introduction from Heidi. We are back here. It seems like 2.5 years flew by. Wonderful audience. This was one of those places we've presented. We present all over the world, and this was one of those places we never forgot. Last time I was here, let me start with who I am. My name's Tim, by the way. Hello. Does everyone just want to say hello, Tim? Hi. And what are your names, just quickly?
ASTRO.
ASTRO. So, we were here 2.5 years ago. Is that it? 2.5? Must have been 2.5 years ago. And it was the most extraordinary talk. I'd never heard of this mob. I didn't even know where Hawthorne was, let alone Adelaide. And Heidi suggested we'd speak to this group. And what happened on that night is unforgettable. And was anybody here that night, by the way? Yeah, one person, fantastic. So, no. We have a saying in our company, do serious things, just don't take any of it seriously. So if you find that I'm making a few jokes along the way, it's only because if you take it too seriously, you go mad, right? Who believes that? Yes. Absolutely. So I came here, there were 2 other guest speakers that night. There were 3 of us and 2 of them never spoke. I just ended up speaking for the entire night because we ended up talking about the transition of land titles and other things, and it became a fascination to a lot of people. I had 2 books at that stage, I believe. Heidi, is that correct?
Yeah.
We now have a new book, which is the one I'm going to be talking about tonight. Actually, I'm not going to be talking about the book. I'm going to be talking to you about some of the topics in the book because I think they're relevant. Often when I do talks, I say to people, do you want to know about the past, do you want to know about the present, or do you want to know about the future? What would you rather know about?
All three.
All 3. Well, we don't have time to go through the history. I mean, I've been, I had a talk one day that went for 4 hours and we didn't get past 1933. So I figured we'll just take it to the future. Who really wants to know about the future? I think that's really where this is going, especially groups like this that are, your knowledge is paramount to us learning about what's coming in the future. Who believes it's going to be a really happy future based on the way it's going? Who's a bit concerned about the future, the way things are going with technology? It's pretty concerning. So, just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a researcher, just like a lot of the guys here. We cross paths on a lot of areas. I notice some of your research definitely crosses into some of mine. I've written 9 books, actually. 6 of them were terrible. And 3 of them people actually read. To be fair, the first 6 were children's books, and I didn't take it that seriously back in the day. I was focusing on my illustrations, and they were terrible. So 6 books you would never have heard of, but the last 3 were to do with the 4 years that we've been in business online. Being online, by the way, is incredibly challenging. I don't know if has anybody ever been on social media before? You write something like, the sun came up this morning, and you just get hate mail all day. I don't know what's wrong with the world. There's a lot of people out there who just hate the world. And who believes the world's getting angrier? I feel like the world is Is that a thing? I think we've lost the ability to be polite to each other. I usually wake up, go through lists of abuse, and then I go and have a coffee, basically. That's my day. That's what it's like to be a social media guy. We had a massive channel for 4 years. Unfortunately, Instagram took it down and deleted it one morning. That was a bit of a surprise. That was at the end of 2025, last year. In December 19, 2025, we lost a 100,000 follower channel on Instagram. And they didn't give us any reason. They just said, go away, you're not welcome. Great, so we did. We went away, but then we came back. As all good people do, you know those famous comeback stories? Well, that's us, we're a comeback story. So this is just a bit of background about who we are. So I got together with our team and I said, all right, we just lost a 100,000 person channel in 4 years of really hard work. What do you want to do? Do we want to give up? Who would give up? Who would keep going? What's your choice? We had to keep going, and unfortunately my team wanted to keep going. I begged them, no, I want to give up. I had enough. I don't think I can do it twice. Doing the energy to run our channel was enormous, and we did it all over the world, and we did it well, and when I saw it had disappeared, we went back to 0. That was a hard day, right? Has anybody ever lost a channel before or had a channel taken down? Surely there's got to be somebody here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sudden.
Not a channel, but a group.
20 to 0.
Group taken down. They don't like you if you tell the truth. Just want to be clear on that. If you have good information and knowledge, they don't like you. Who believes that?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. Do you trust the government? So we have alternative assets. We're very big in commodities, gold and silver predominantly, and Bitcoin, which of course is the most misunderstood asset on the planet, but we're predominantly gold and silver. Now today I do not travel alone. I'm travelling with my CEO, and it's Heidi did mention that how Kylie came to be my CEO. Can you just stand up for a minute? Actually, can you come out the front? I just want you to introduce, to put your hands together, this amazing lady, Kylie. Kylie Curzio became my CEO. She followed me for years. Pretty much, you didn't really earn any dollars because we didn't have any dollars back in those days. And she helped me carry bags. She'd come to events. She just turned up and she turned up and she turned up. And then one day, my other company, Beat the Reset, started to become really big. And I needed a consultant, and I said to this lady who was carrying my bags and kept sitting next to me at airports drinking my coffee, I said to her, hey, do you want a job? And she goes, yeah. And I said, do you want to be a consultant? She goes, yeah. And I said, right, you're a consultant. And I basically made her one like that.
I remember the story a little differently.
But I figured that one thing I've learned on this journey is that loyalty and friendship is above all. I don't care what your skill set is, but if you're loyal, I will do anything for you. This lady proved her loyalty. She didn't have to do most of what she did for free, and she was there. And then I said, you can be a consultant. When we made her a consultant, the company became quite big. We were a big company, which means we were turning north of $100 million a year at that stage. And I put her in charge of some very big funds, and I said, I just trust you. I don't know why, I don't know what I'm doing. My brand partners pulled me aside. They said, what are you doing? Females don't do this, right? I literally was in Perth, and you know this, I got dragged aside and they said, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Have you even tested this girl? Does she even know what she's doing? I go, I don't know, but I trust it. I trust it. I don't care. I don't trust a lot of people. Do you find that? And I just found I trust this girl. And I said to her, and I pulled her aside, don't stuff it up, please don't stuff it up, because I hate it. So she was a raging success, actually, to the point where it really changed the direction of our company. To have a female in this space, it's predominantly male in the monetary system, but all predominantly males. We took a hell of a chance, and then when we lost our company in December 19, it was all gone in a heartbeat. It was over, and it was like you were in a building, and the building was just gone. Nothing was there anymore, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, "What just happened?" Who's had mornings like that? Who's come into the office and it's been some catastrophe and you just think, I'm never going to be able to deal with this?
Yeah.
And I turned to her and the guys and I said, what are we going to do? It's either give up or go forward. And she said, we all vote to go forward. I said, you know how stupid this is to do this? Because it's going to take a lot of equity to put this thing back together and we're starting from zero. So we decided to do it anyway. And here we are today. So as a result of that, we built a brand new company. We've actually got two companies. One of them's Beat the Reset Proprietary Limited. The other one is BtR.Bullion, or BtR Bullion, we call it BtR.Bullion. BtR Bullion, which is our gold and silver arm. We are now, we have our own refined products, which Kylie will show you. We are going to be a very big business in this country. So we go straight into the medium-sized business category at the moment and soon to be into the big business category. Just to give you an idea of what I mean by that, 97.3% of business in this country is small business. That's turning over under $10 million, which means only 2.7% of all business in this country turns over more than $10 million. Medium business is 10 million to 100 million. Big business is 100 plus. We will be in the 100 plus million, and this is the lady that's going to take us there. She is now our CEO. Give her a huge round of applause. Right, That's the backstory. Okay, now, that's all I've got time for, so thank you very much. So you'll get to meet Kylie afterwards. She has been formidable, so please introduce yourself to her, especially the ladies in the room. If you are looking for one hell of a strong woman that has stood up against the most abhorrent industry in the world, the monetary system, and she has not flinched once. And I tell you what, that takes one hell of a woman to do that. I didn't think it was a woman's game, to be totally honest, and that's not a sexist thing. It's just this is so hard on men and families and relationships, but she has just weathered the storm. So make yourself known to her later on. Especially the females in the room, and experience what I'm scared to talk to her some mornings, I've got to be honest. If she hasn't had a coffee, well, she doesn't drink coffee, which worries me. But if sometimes she'll ring me, and I know by the length of silence on the other end if it's going to be a good conversation or not a great conversation. But we've dealt with so many things that have damaged us that we don't believe there's anything worse that could happen. I don't want to say that. No, don't say that. There could be.
Have you proposed yet?
It does sound like that, doesn't it? It does sound like that, doesn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so, no, we're not, no. It's not that kind of situation, but we do appreciate it. But I am more in awe of what she can do as a female for our company and for the bullion industry in total. I think we're going to completely rewrite the bullion industry in Australia. It is a big industry, there's only a few players. Actually, just on a show of hands, who has gold and silver here? Who invests? So you know what I'm talking about. So you're talking to people that... So we have our own product range here tonight, which we're going to show you, and I know a lot of people deal with Darryl and Brian over at As Good as Gold, who are good friends of ours. In fact, the very last time I was here, we were brand partners for As Good as Gold back in those days. Yeah. So that was a long time ago. All right, on with the show. So I'm going to quickly introduce you to a book called 2033, The Great Reset. Has anybody actually heard of it, bought it, read it? A few people. It was funny because I bumped into somebody the other day and they had this book. It's so weird. And I said, wow, where'd you get this book? And they said, oh, we're studying in book class, or Bible, not Bible class, class.
Book club.
Book club. And they were studying. And they said, oh, do you know it? I go, yeah, I know that book. And I recognise it. And they said, how do you know? And I said, well, if you go to the picture in the back, the guy looks a lot like me with a hat on. And they said, oh my God, you're the author. I said, yeah, I'm the author of that book. I said, I'm glad to see somebody bought it, because we're wondering who bought that one book that we actually sold. Now it just made a clicking sound. That is not a good sound. Hang on a second. Sorry, it didn't make the sound I was expecting.
Has it got a click?
Wait a minute. Here we are. Here we go. You've been nice. Here we go. So this is the book, 2033. Why would I have named it that? Anybody? This is an interactive session tonight.
I'm thinking it's something to do with Agenda 2030, but now it's 33 because of the some sort of tie to the Freemasons thing. I don't know.
Anybody? What does the picture look like? Does it look futuristic?
1920s.
What year does that look like? 1933, isn't it? And so the reason is the font set was taken from the announcement that the commercial banks were going to close on March 6, 33. So I got the exact font set from 1933 under Roosevelt. And we wanted it to be 100 years into the future to show you that absolutely nothing has changed at all. Who believes that history just repeats over and over again? Sometimes it echoes, but mostly it repeats. And we're about to go through another reset. And so many people write to the guy in the hat, they go, you've got the date wrong. Do you know how many, when we first released this book online, I had people write to me and they would say, you've got the date wrong. I said, have you read it? They go, no. I go, so how do you know I got the date wrong? Well, maybe you should read the book first and figure out what it is all about and then tell me I got it wrong. 2030 is what? What's 2030?
Agenda 2030.
Agenda 2030 is correct. What is that? What is that agenda?
It's an agenda through the United Nations to implement certain standards and protocols throughout the whole world.
It's very nice. So we're in smart people. Where did it come from? I'll accept that answer. Yeah. World Economic Forum is a great answer. So let's get into this. Hopefully this just... Yes, here we go. Who recognises what these little ball things are? Remember those? Who'd ever seen one before COVID? So this is where the book starts. These slides are set up exactly as the chapters are in the book. So I'm just going to take you through them very quick. So there's not going to be anything for you to read. There's going to be big, juicy, fun pictures to look at. This is a great picture. Completely made up, of course, by people that pretend viruses are actually a real thing. And they pretend not only they're real, but if they were, that's what they would probably look like, because they're little balls that stick on things. It's the most ridiculous thing. People actually believed during COVID that that was what a virus was, let alone that one could even exist. But if a virus did exist, and I'm talking again, disclaimer here, these are my personal views. I'm a bit of a terrain theory guy, but if they did exist, because somehow, I mean, we didn't die during COVID. Did anybody die during COVID? Hands up if you died. And that's what they look like. So the first chapter in the book is called Looking Back. I wonder what I'm talking about. I started the book 2033 talking about 10 years into the future, but I take you backwards in time. Why would I have done that? So I take you back and I give you my view of what I think COVID was all about. Has anybody got a view of what they think it's about? Do you think it was for health? Is there anybody left that believes that?
Yes.
Shout it out.
The repo market.
Repo market could have been one reason. That's one, yeah. Mass liquidity could have been another. Wiping people out. The elderly. Control.
It was a test run.
Test run. You guys had the football lady who told you, what was her name? Told you not to touch the footy? Nicola.
Spurious Nicola.
Nicola Spurious.
Just big fun made a lot of money.
They made a few dollars. And a big one.
Smart cities.
Yeah, and we're going to get to all those things. Smart cities, absolutely smart cities. Who said that, by the way? That's a very good comment indeed, Kevin. Absolutely. So COVID was the trigger. That was the trigger point. We had Agenda 2020. Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Before Agenda 2030, they already had an agenda.
But they didn't call it Agenda 2020. They just called it Agenda 20.
Well, they have these fancy names for things. So why did they do COVID? And the reason, say again, shut it up.
See how we react.
See how you react. Compliance. See if you're ready to be reset yet. They just had a bunch of viruses come out recently this year. We've had everything. We had diphtheria, chikungunya, hantavirus, Ebola, smallpox. We had everything. And, you know, they disappeared. All of them disappeared. Do you know why? Because no one's buying it. So it means that the only reason COVID happened is because you bought it. Not you, but other you. The others. The ones wearing the face masks who drove the battery-operated cars. They've got to stop that. So I start the book with this looking back because it's important that you know that the trigger for the reset had to have been something either war, pestilence, or famine. Well, they went for pestilence, just like they did in 1919. If you research, you would know that we had the Spanish flu back in 1919, which was neither Spanish nor a flu, but they had vaccines and face masks, socially distanced.
And 100 years.
And about 100 years to the day. There were many viruses. In fact, in my second book, The Great Asset Shift, which is the one I was here for last time, I spoke about the last 8 resets before the one we're about to go into. This is a big one. This is a major reset. The other ones were smaller. And guess what accompanied every single monetary reset since 1819? A virus. Throughout the 19th century, guess what the virus was? In every single reset, every 25 years or so, was cholera. And then they changed it. 1907 was the last time we saw cholera. 1933, during the reset of 1933, what did we have? Does anybody know what virus we had? Bubonic plague.
Ah, yes.
You can't make this up. We had the global financial crisis. wasn't really a reset, but it was a kind of a minor reset.
That was the bird flu, wasn't it?
It was the swine flu. Might remember that. It's interesting because the only swines I've seen are in Parliament. Get too close to them, you'll be infected, trust me. And then COVID. COVID-19 went for 2 years. It was meant to go for 3 years. Why did it end?
Ukraine.
Sorry?
Ukraine.
Ukraine?
Yeah, when Ukraine started, the war in Ukraine, they stopped talking about COVID.
Yeah.
Because it was the new topic.
It could have been. That could have been one of the mitigating factors. But I guess on the bigger scale, why did it end? I would say, at a guess, because it had broken the back on the common man. I saw, and I'll ask your opinion on this, but did you see society get fractured totally? Decimated. We are not the same people anymore. Friends are no longer friends. Families are no longer families. People you thought were smart, you don't think are smart anymore, including your doctors. So this was the beginning of the reset. This was how they were going to do it. 2019, life was good. We were a good Aussie nation. Football, meat pies, what is it? Kangaroos.
Holden cars.
And Holden cars, not Ford. Holden cars, Peter Brock, these guys. I don't know if he was around then. Do you know?
No, he wasn't.
No, he might not have been with us then. But this is what our lives were. Pretty casual, easygoing Aussies, and all of a sudden Australia was picked as ground zero. Don't you find that interesting? Did you feel like Australia was particularly picked on during COVID?
And Melbourne.
And which city was picked on the most?
Melbourne.
Don't you find that interesting? Do you know why that might be?
They were previously world's most livable city.
That is a great point. Actually, it's an ancillary point, but one definitely worth noting what you've just said there. But do you know why Melbourne? Daniel Andrews? Right.
I should know that.
You're not mentioned it, you're not to talk. Give me answers away. Digital Twin Cities.
That's right. Strong city.
October 2022. $400 million of Victorian taxpayers' money funneled into a project that you did not know anything about. Funneled into a project that if I showed you it right now live on the screen, which I can't because we wouldn't have a fast enough internet connection, would blow your mind to the point where you would not believe me, even though it's sitting on the government's own website. You wouldn't believe it. Nobody believes it. I've been called a lunatic by going to land.vic.gov, typing in digital twin, going into the guest portal on the Victorian government's own website and showing you what these creatures have done. Have you seen it?
Yes.
None of you have seen it. Hands up if you have.
Oh.
It's frightening. It is frightening. You can't actually describe. I've done a number of podcasts on it on my Patreon channel, but it's difficult for me to stand up here and describe what has happened to Victoria. And I'm going to try to explain it a little bit as I go. It's too big a topic, but let me see what the next slide is. And we'll keep moving. Hopefully this is all just going to work. A global power grab was my next chapter. Is that what you think COVID was? A global power grab? Who do you think was involved in that? Klaus? Uncle Klaus Schwab, yeah, das ist good. Actually, he has since stepped down now, by the way. He's still on the board. Born in 1937. Yep. A global power grab, my friends.
I can't answer that because I might be in danger of violating the anti-Semitism laws.
Yes, the people with the tiny hats, very nice, okay, we'll go with that. I've got a Jewish background as well, so I can talk about the Jewish people, but I'm not Semitic. We come from the gypsies who had no money, so my grandfather was very poor. But you're right. There's no question that the tiny hats had something to do with all of this. But more importantly, who else? What other major organisations were basically are going to be involved in this global power grab? A Vatican? Okay, we'll go there. Anybody else?
CDC?
Yes.
The elite people.
Elite families, things like the Orsini's and the Medicis, yeah. BlackRock, definitely. Yes.
Central banks.
Central banks, most definitely central banks.
Drug companies.
Drug companies, corporations. So it can be summed up in a few very simple ways. There are so many organisations, the Bilderbergers, the Club of Rome, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Knights Templar. You could go all day with how many satanic and demonic groups there are. But really in the end, it comes down for me to three that I've been following very closely because it just simplifies it. I mean, yes, we could talk all about the families. I mean, we could go into great detail on the Medici's and incredible power they held, or the Vatican. But what it came down to for me was three of them. Central banks. Somebody mentioned central banks. The United Nations and the World Economic Forum. They are your big three. There are others. There's the military-industrial complex and there's many others, I get that. But they are the three. One was about the corporations. Who controls the corporations? Which one of those organisations controls the corporations?
Where?
World Economic Forum. 1,000 corporations. Started by a guy that was a professor in 1971. His name was Uncle Klaus Schwab. Don't know if he was an uncle back then. He was born in 1937. Travels on a plane every day, into the office, into the boardroom. Has a cafe latte to start his day. He's born 1937. What are your relatives doing that are born in 1937? Are they going into the boardroom of major corporations? Probably not. That's Uncle Klaus Schwab. He has been replaced by another guy called Peter Brabeck, who's the ex-emeritus CEO of which company? Nestle. Nestle is what kind of company?
Multinational.
Pharmaceutical. That is their origins. Whether you like it or not, or whether you believe it or not, Henry Nestle was not a confectioner. He was a pharmacist. Did you know that? No. So now you've got the head of the World Economic Forum who doesn't want water to be free for the people of planet Earth, missing an eyeball, of course. Very scary looking man. Has anybody seen him? He looks like a Bond villain. Have you seen him? Put your hand right up. Have you seen him? He's pretty frightening. If you wouldn't let your kids bump into him in a dark alley. So you had Klaus Schwab, who looked like an evil dude, and he stepped down and he's now handed the reins over to an ex-pharmacist, if you like, who now wants water to be taken, your water rights to be removed. Are you aware of that? That's going to happen. And I'll tell you why it's going to happen. We'll hopefully get to that. World Economic Forum is a very dangerous organisation. We've got people like Larry Fink. Who does he belong to? BlackRock. 13.5 trillion. Has anybody ever seen $1 trillion? Australian debt is $1 trillion and BlackRock is a $13.5 trillion asset fund. Are you aware of that? That's very powerful. But they're not alone. They've got other organisations. What are they? Vanguard, State Street, many others in that group. And they are taking the world in a direction which will make your heads spin. And I'll talk about that in a second. The World Economic Forum is 1,000 corporations that are leading the world down a path that you do not want to go. But they summed it all up in one document. I'm hoping not jumping too far forward here. But Klaus Schwab released a document in 2016. Does anybody know what that document was called? Anybody read it? The fourth industrial revolution.
That's right.
Correct.
Yep.
We've got smart people in the room. So you guys have heard of that document.
Yes.
He summed it up in one word. What was that word? Begins with T. Transhumanism. That is it. 1,000 of the world's most powerful corporations that pretty much have GDPs bigger than countries are taking you into transhumanism. Not my words. In the words of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. That's what the Fourth Industrial Revolution was. What did you think it was? Does it sound good? We've had industrial revolutions. Steam, electrical, computer age. But now you've got transhumanism. What does it mean? Does anybody know? What does it mean to you? Does it sound good?
Merging the biological with the electronic.
Yes. Altering DNA. Something else over here?
Merging the human body with technology.
Merging the human body with technology. Good or bad? Why bad? Why? Don't you want productivity in your workplace?
The technology will be programmed to take over you.
Right. How are they doing that?
With software.
What's one substance that you've heard nothing but this substance in?
Graphene.
Who said graphene? Nanotech graphene. Everywhere. In the sky, in your food, in your water. Why are they doing that? Because they're taking you into a world where you're going to be transformed from human to half human. Mostly half robotic. That connects into 5G, 6G and beyond, high frequency towers. If you think your high frequency towers, you guys are tech heads. Who here believes that frequencies are for your fast internet connections? We passed that a while back.
3G was a lot better than what we've got today.
Oh, I've got the latest phone with the latest carrier on a 5G connection with the latest SIM card, and I can't get a signal. It's like, I can't even get the homepage of Google to come up. So sure, right, it's about speed, right? Internet speed. You are being led, my friends, into transhumanism. And most of your friends and family have no idea. And they sold it to who? So Klaus Schwab thought, this is a really good idea. He got buy-in from 1,000 corporations who all support it. So everything you're going to see from here on in is to support transhumanism. They're all in on it. I don't know if you've heard about AI data centers and digital twin cities and smart cities and smart devices. What does SMART stand for?
Self-monitoring analytical reporting technology.
What's going on? So that's right, self-managed analysis reporting technology, which comes from the old hard disks. The original hard disks, gone completely blank, but yes, the original hard disk system had smart technologies. They are turning you into a hard disk. And if anybody's ever seen an old hard disk, who's seen one? What's it made out of?
Magnets.
Magnets, all sorts of plastics, graphene, all of these things are in there. That's what they're doing to you. And they're not hiding it. COVID was a major part of that. It accelerated it dramatically. Are you aware of that? Transhumanism. Has anybody not heard that word? You must have heard that word. Do you think you have friends that wouldn't know what that word meant? If you see someone who's driving a Tesla that's got a face mask on, don't ask them what transhumanism is. Maybe put a sticker on their car, just don't ask them.
And they're in the car by themselves.
Yeah. Socially distancing, right? Yeah. I know. I mean, we've seen the height of stupidity. So transhumanism was sold to the UN, and the UN bought it. Australia contributes to the United Nations. Do you know how much? Isn't this interesting? Here we are, being totally destroyed as a people, and we have no idea what's going on. Australia was one of the original
Yes, it was.
founding members of the UN in what year? 1945. Founding member. Today, Australia went from being the 11th largest contributor financially to the 8th. Your tax dollars are going to fund your demise and the destruction of your families. That's what you're paying for. Don't you find that a little bit interesting? How many countries signed up to the UN? Anybody? Shout it out.
195.
No wonder he won the BtR coin. Well done, Damien. 195 nations. Sovereign. There are 243 countries apparently listed, but only 195, apart from all the others they hide from you, by the way. But there are 195 that can govern in their own right. Did they all sign up to the UN? All 195 of those sovereign nations? Just hold it, Damien, because I think you know the answer to this. Hands up if you think they all signed up. All 195 countries. Go for it. Who thinks some of them didn't sign up? And if you think some of them didn't sign up, who was it that didn't sign up? Where can you run?
The ones who are at war.
All right, tell you what. This is very important what I'm about to say. There are 2 countries that never signed up. I mean, you'll probably know this. There are 2 countries that never signed up to the UN Convention. Never did. Never intended to. Never will. Who are they?
No, the Saudis have.
North Korea.
Iran.
Okay, so Palestine, the Islamic State of Palestine is correct. That is one of them. There is one more. And somebody here mentioned them earlier.
With the Vatican.
The canonical arm of the Holy See. Also known after 1929 when the Lateran Treaty was signed as the Vatican. That's where you can run. If you don't agree, you can go to Palestine or you can go to the Vatican. Great choice. Which way are you going, guys? Any takers? Who'd go to the Vatican? Right? You have been sold out. Every other nation on the planet is a signatory to the UN, but it gets better. It gets way better. Within the UN, there is a special enclave. And it's made up of 5 nations. And these 5 nations are special because they are more special than all the others. Because they are superpowers.
Sounds like Animal Farm.
And they can never go to war with each other. And they have pacts and agreements that override anything the UN can do. These are the 5 most powerful nations on the planet. They will never go to war with each other, despite your mainstream media trying to make you pretend that they try to scare you into thinking they will. They are the UN Security Council. Who are the 5 nations on the UN Security Council? Let's go.
USA, China, Russia,
India, France.
UK and France. Okay. Fantastic. Give yourself 7 points. How many points did they actually make? So, United States, Russia. Have you ever been told that the US and Russia could go to war with each other? You've ever been worried about that? You do realise they can't. I hope you know that. The UN Security Council absolutely does not allow that. China. Have you ever been worried that maybe US and China could go to war? Have you ever noticed how they don't? Has anybody noticed that just never seems to happen? When was the last time Russia fired a missile at the US? Their borders virtually touch, by the way. They're literally like 20 k's from each other if you go to Alaska and go up to the Baltic or wherever it is. They're literally, whatever ocean it is up there. And the UK and France. You know these countries can't go to war, right? But they tell you they're going to go to war. The United States didn't go to war with China just recently. Who did they go to war with?
Iran.
Right. Why?
Israel said so.
Oh, apart from that, I mean, Israel and US are the same country anyway. I'll take that as a given, right? I'm hoping we all realise that there's more Jewish people in the US than there are American. Well, it's a very good question. Why did the US attack Iran and not China? Why did the US take control of the oil fields in Venezuela and not touch China? Why is it that China is not touched? Who can do it with China? So there were 2 people involved, the World Economic Forum and the UN. The UN is not what you think it is. Who thinks they know what the UN is? It's frightening, isn't it? Who said that? Telecommunications. That's got to be worth at least an ounce of gold, that answer. Would it come as a great shock? Well done, Faith. I've got it. You're listening too closely. Would it come as a great shock if I told you that Faith is absolutely 100% correct? The UN had nothing to do with a group of guys in suits, ever. That's not where it came from. It came from the telecommunications industry. Are you aware of that? And yet, most people, when you ask them about the UN, would say that the UN was what? Here for interstellar domination. No, that's not what it is. Do you want to know when the UN was first formed? Anybody want to know? Have a guess. You're not allowed to answer.
Around about 1948,
48?
with Israel being one of the first signatories to a newly formed country.
48? Anybody else?
Are you talking about United Nations as United Nations or United Nations as the League of Nations?
I'll take either.
It would have been during the Second World War, surely.
No,
End of World War One.
You ready? 1865.
That's the League of Nations.
Oh,
No.
was that
No.
the King John of England who?
No, no King Johns of England. Let's not worry about King Johns. Let's just keep it to the facts. No. League of Nations formed 1920, Palace of Versailles, 1919, 1920 after the First World War. League of Nations lasted 19 years. It failed because their mission was world peace. And a little guy with a moustache ruined that on January the 1st, 1933. Funded by the Bank for International Settlements. Set up in 1929 after the crash of Wall Street. So that's your world you live in, League of Nations. But United Nations started 1865. I heard a lot of people surprised. Hands up if you're surprised at that. What did you think the world was like in 1865? Did you think it was guys in horse and coach running around in the dirt? Did you think that?
No.
You do know that that was all a great big cover story. I hope you understand that. 1865, the first department of the UN was formed, and do you know what it was called? It was called the ITU. And it's changed its name now. It actually changed its name in 1947. And you know what it's called now? The ITU. The only difference is, in 1865, it was a very advanced telecommunications company. They dealt with semaphore, metaphor, deep sea cable systems, fibre optics, broadband, internet. None of that could be true, Mr. Guy in the Hat. Oh yeah, it's very true. Central banks, commercial banks trading real-time, cross-border, 1865. Look it up. And you know what the ITU stands for? International Telegraphics Union. And they have now changed their name to International Telecommunications Union. They were the first department of the UN. Now they control every single frequency and messaging system on planet Earth. Chances are, if you're an amateur radio guy or you deal in something like that, you would have to have an ITU license. ITU has to know. They even changed the music frequencies in 1939 to A440. Why? Why? What was wrong with 432?
It was beneficial for life.
It was beneficial. It's pretty damn obvious. They track every plane movement, every ship movement, every shipping lane, every flight path. Everything is designed by the ITU. Everything. All your telecommunications networks. In fact, their protocols are so vast that if you went and looked them up on the internet and you went to their website and had a look at their protocols that they control, the decimal point would be the size of an atom on the scroll bar. They control everything, my friends. Everything. Under something called surveillance. And they've been doing it forever. They did it 100 years before 1865 and 100 years before that. And to be totally honest, I went back hundreds of years prior to that and I still couldn't find any end to it. They were still tracking communications. They've been doing it for quite some time. So next time you look at your UN and you think, okay, well, it's just a bunch of guys in suits that meets in some scary room, they are tracking you to your entirety. Which brings me to the next chapter of my book. Are you finding this interesting?
Yes.
Who's not finding it interesting? Ah, 3 people, that's all. The erasure. This is what resets are, my friends. The erasure. What do you think that's about? What?
Dividing the world into 5 sections.
Yes. Can you?
Oh, yeah, I'm not that well versed in it.
Yep. Good or bad erasure? Good for you or bad for you? Have they ever done it before? Is there any indication that our health systems might be slightly different to what they were in the 19th century? Our telecommunication systems, our motor vehicles, our electrical systems, our free energy grids, our education systems, our ecclesiastical systems, our political systems, our culture. People used to dress well. Now we wear t-shirts from... Where we got this t-shirt from? Yes?
Would Solvay ex coagula fit into that? Dissolve and bring back together?
Potentially.
That's another one of their premises, is order out of chaos.
Order out of chaos. So the chapter in the book on the erasure is how every day, and this is a deep topic, I don't just talk about past erasures, I talk about current erasures. You are going through an erasure right now. You know how you know that? You can't tell the difference between AI and a real human anymore.
That's right.
I can't even tell which gender toilet to go into, to be totally honest. Has anybody got that problem too? You go in the toilet, you look at it, you go, girl, boy, go half skirt, now the half skirt thing. Yeah? I don't know what's going on anymore. It's designed to discombobulate and confuse and disorientate. Because people who are confused are easier to control. It's that simple. Let me give you an example of a very simple erasure I talk about in the book. It's also something called the Mandela effect. Who's heard of the Mandela effect? You know when you swore something? Have you ever had that? I swore there was 3 Stooges. And you find out there's actually only 2? Anybody had that? What if I told you there was only 2 Stooges? I mean, apart from Albanese and the clown that's the treasurer. There should be another, what's the other one? Chris Bowen, there are 3 Stooges. Yeah. But the Mandela effect is an interesting one because it is designed to make you think you're going mad. That's why they call it the Mandela effect. So, if I told you that Snap, Crackle and Pop never had the crackle in it, would you believe me?
No.
But this is what they'll do to you. They will actually remove the word crackle. And you'll say your friends Snap, Crackle, Pop, and all your friends will go, there's no crackle. And you'll go, oh yeah, there is, let me show you. Not one single internet photo has the word crackle in it anymore. You feel like you're in the middle of some kind of horror film. So the erasure, let me explain very quickly a simple one and then I'll move on to the next slide. I'll just speed it up a little bit because this could be one of those 5-hour talks. Who has a mobile phone?
No.
Who doesn't have a mobile phone?
I've got 2.
Okay. Who gets the updates to the operating system? Who switches those off? Why do you switch them off? Who has a computer? Who gets the updates to their computer? Alright, let me speed this up. Have you noticed, whenever you get an update, it switches things around on your phone?
Yeah.
Not only the colour's different, the icon's changed, and now everything that was on the right-hand side of the screen is on the left. And the button that you used to swipe down, now you swipe up. And the one that you used to push, now you have to wink at it and do something like that. And it opens a new app. And they do this not for your convenience. They do this, I don't want to use the F word, to you up. I don't swear on my channel, but if I could, that would be a great word to use right now. To discombobulate you, so you can never settle. Have you ever noticed that you find yourself wondering after the last update why it is everything's all over the place? Like, nothing works. Now, you are confused. And guess what happens to your productivity? It slows down for a while, until you relearn the interface. Do you find yourself doing that all the time? And you have to relearn the interface. That's also why you go to other countries and they drive on the opposite side of the road in some countries on this side, and then some traffic lights beep 3 times, but that one beeps 5, and that's green lights on the bottom, the red lights on the top, and it's for no reason. You think that when we're naive, we go, well, somebody's really thought about this. And you come to Australia and they go, no, driving on the left-hand side of the road's really safe. And then you go to the US, it's no, drive on the right-hand side of the road is really safe. Do you see what I'm saying? None of it makes any sense. It's not meant to. It's meant to delay you. Like the typewriter. They completely jumbled the letters up on the typewriter. Why? So who's ever used a typewriter? Surely there's people in the room. Did you notice how it slows you down because of the way they've got the QWERTY keyboards? They weren't like that. These things were modified to slow you down. They don't want you being productive.
Well, it's not so much they wanted to slow you down, it's that the mechanics couldn't keep up with the speed of the good typing.
That's what the cover story is. I'm right with you on that. Is it the cover story or is it the reality? Because what they've done since is they've taken every technology and created a system where you're reliant on it, but it gets updated all the time. And we're all fearful of it being updated because we don't know what it's going to do next. Who agrees with that?
But Tim, the other point about continual updating technology is to indoctrinate the people, to program the people that they have to become dependent on the technology. That it takes away the sovereignty, it takes away their independence, it makes us dependent on the new technology. And we cannot function without the new technology.
Well, it's a really good point. It's a great photo. I wish I had it here with me tonight, and you can look this up. I put this photo up on my channel a couple of years ago, and it was showing all the people today on the train. Get on a train, what are they doing? Right? 2 fingers. If you're an old person, one finger. Kids, old people, you know. Who uses 2 fingers here? We're all old people, okay. And then what I did, after I got that, like 2024 back then when I did this photo, of everyone who was on the train, when I was in London, what I noticed was all the undergrounds, just people on their phones. No one looks up, no eye contact, no one looking at anybody. It's so antisocial. It's meant to be social, but it's antisocial, the exact opposite, right? Then I went back to a photo of 1947. And it was a photo, people might remember this photo.
Yeah.
People sitting on a train station. What were they doing?
Talking to each other.
No, all in their newspapers. All there on the train station. In the newspapers. And what are they reading in those newspapers? Facts? Nonsense, right? Garbage. Total rubbish. But it was exactly the same then as it was now. And I thought, this is really interesting. We haven't really, we've devolved. I'm going to push through some of these. Humanoid psychosis. This is what they're leading you into, as you rightly said, David, before, is that we're being led into a world of dependency on AI. You don't know if the newsreader is AI anymore. And they've even done it to you deliberately to see if you can pick it up. Who believes that sometimes you're not looking at real people on the TV? Tell me if you believe that to be true. That is a fact. You are not, some of these people you are looking at are not real. I mean, tell me if I'm crazy. Well, either they have a mask on or they're AI. I mean, the AI is so advanced. Remember, the ITU was doing this a long time ago. Their AI, well, let me ask you that. Do you believe that the technology that is available on this planet is infinitely more advanced than what we currently use as consumers? Right, probably into the hundreds, maybe thousands of years more advanced than where you are right now. So don't tell me they can't produce a very, very good likeness of a newsreader or a president. Imagine I said something as crazy as that. I mean, is that a crazy thing? Would anybody even entertain that idea? Would you ever entertain that idea?
Trump is real.
No, I didn't mention his name. I never mentioned Donald Trump at all. I'm just saying. Surely Albanese has to be AI, because the gods surely wouldn't have created some match to it. Come on. You don't know anymore. Do you think that's fair? Tell me if you think I'm crazy. They've confused you. You now have AI everything. You don't even have to write a document anymore. You can go onto a database, or you can go onto, what is it called, ChatGPT, and you can say, write me a book. You can tell it how many chapters, how long each chapter is, and it'll write your book. And you can publish that book. Are you aware of that? Dumbifying society. No, that's not where my book came from, by the way. ChatGPT never would have come up with this. Humanoid psychosis. Chatbots. Who's ever used one? Who's ever used those chat engines or the AI? Who does it? Hands up if you have. Hands up who's written to it and wanted to know, typed in things like, you know, did JFK really get shot, right? Who's ever done something like that? Like, not that search, but who ever tried that? Who's ever seen the social media channels where somebody's holding up their phone and, and you hear the AI reading it out going, John F. Kennedy was not actually shot. He was abducted by aliens that came from the planet Zorg. And it's like you're sitting there going, okay, so when you hear that, I hope for all of you that you question that. Do you think the elites are in control of those systems that you are using? Do you think that? Do you think the corporations are in control of that in any way? Or do you think there is just some random AI out there that you can just ask, you know, were the Twin Towers really, you know, did planes really hit the Twin Towers? I mean, really? I mean, do people believe that? You know what? Don't even answer that question. What I want to say is there's only 3 databases in the world that you're aware of right now. And those 3 databases in the world are only owned by pretty much 2 corporations. And one of those corporations is a guy that's claimed to be in those files. What were those files called? So Microsoft owns one and Oracle owns the other. Both of them are part of the World Economic Forum's transhumanist model. You're starting to see the connection. The other one's Post-Greed, which was born out of Microsoft. So there's only 2. Microsoft, which has their SQL engines, and Oracle is the other one. And Post-Greed, which was born out of it. So there's 2. Bill Gates and the other guy who've forgotten from Oracle. That's it. That's who's answering your questions. Mr. Gates. Hi, ChatGPT. Was Bill Gates really in the Epstein files? Did you see recently he's virtually been acquitted of being in those files? Lucky those search engines really got his back, right? This is what you're dealing with. Are you aware of that? It comes down to a couple of corporations. Yes?
Where did Palantir fit into the AI?
Well,
Military I know, but
yes.
What else?
So Palantir, together with the military-industrial complex and Rolls-Royce and McKinsey & Co. It's interesting that Palantir is the name that we hear, but I'll put that in the same mix. Palantir, who's heard of Palantir? Military-industrial complex, Rolls-Royce and McKinsey & Co. The shadow government of the United States has been since 1922. Here's what you need to know about those corporations. They have pretty much have built and designed an entire digital world for you to be imprisoned in. You won't be imprisoned in a physical world, but you will be imprisoned in a digital world. In fact, we are frightfully close right now. Most people can't be without their telephone. If you lose your phone, some people say it's like losing a kidney. Who's ever lost their mobile phone? Who's ever freaked out when they've lost their phone? Seriously. I do. It's a frightening moment. Who doesn't freak out when they lose their phone? Who's happy to lose the goddamn thing? And this is what they've done. They've built incredible networks and cities. This Palantir, this is a name we hear, are as connected as any of these AI corporations. You hear about Elon Musk's SpaceX. Who's heard of that?
Yeah.
SpaceX, really? Don't get me started on SpaceX. I'm not going to do that today. Elon Musk, who is he? Do you know who he is? What is he? Have you seen him? Have you met him? Have you ever heard him talk?
Very weird.
Did you hear his views on Neuralink? Did he sound normal when he was speaking to you? Where did he come from? I'll tell you a little bit of I'll give you Wikipedia's story. Very quickly. Elon Musk was born in what country?
South Africa.
Okay, it was like a chorus. South Africa. Yeah, his parents were just ordinary. They did nothing special. And he went to school. Was he a success at school? No, he's a dropout. You know what he did after he left school? He launched a rocket into space. Natural, normal, everyday thing, and was a billionaire overnight. No threads connecting him from having $0 and being a dropout to being a billionaire. How many billionaires are there in this room? How hard have you worked in your life? Is there a thread? Is there a trail? Is there a breadcrumb trail to prove that you have worked in this planet at some point? Yes. Is there one for him? No. It's
part of PayPal?
but yes, PayPal. But my point here, as it is for the Rothschilds, as it is for the Rockefellers, as it is for the Carnegies and the Astors and the DuPonts, as it is for all of them, there is no evidence ever prior to them being billionaires where they got their capital. No one knows. They just went from here on Monday to billionaire. Do you know how hard it is to be a billionaire in a country like Australia, with capital gains tax and 125 other taxes off your starboard bow? You can't do it. How did he do it? Well, he's not in Australia, Mr. Gonad, he's in the US. Well, he wasn't, he was in South Africa for a while and he moved to the US. It's not that much less difficult in the US. How did he do it? Anybody? Where'd you get your $1 billion? Where'd you get your capital? Try that one. The Rockefellers did the same with oil, Standard Oil Company back in the middle of the 19th century. One day they had nothing, and the next day they had an oil well. Where'd you get the capital, boys? $3 million US. Not bad for 1858, somewhere there. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Bill Gates.
The other thing that that's going on with the previous slide, human psychosis, is you're literally getting people now going to psychologists full of anxiety and depression that they're not getting enough likes on their Facebook posts. So it's created a whole new industry of psychoses and anxieties that people are feeling left out of society and the like, just because they're not getting enough likes on their internet, on their social media.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely not enough likes, especially in younger people who've got body dysmorphia now, and you've got little girls who get into nothing and they dance to get likes on their channel. It's just crazy. The world has gone mad. We allowed this to happen, by the way. Who believes that? I mean, we allowed it to happen. We were allowing it to happen right now. And the reason is because no one really has a really solid handle on what's going on, because there's so much coming at you from so many different angles that you don't have time to really take it all in. This one's really interesting, this next chapter. Bollards? What's a bollard? Anybody know what it is? Safety, around car into it. Street lamps and smart skins. This chapter is part of my research on digital twin cities. You might remember I just mentioned McKinsey & Co, Rolls-Royce, the military industrial complex. They've been working on your digital twin cities for a while now, and we only have 2 digital twin cities in the world. And where are they? Anybody? Melbourne's one, Singapore's the other. It's Melbourne's twin sister, or brother, or friend. Did you notice during the oil crisis, Singapore was mentioned? Did you notice that? I wonder why. I wonder why. Got myself into all. I have videos that ran into the millions during that period, trying to educate people on what's really going on with crude oil. I haven't got time for that one today, but the math doesn't math. But Singapore is a major deal, and you need to go and look at the Jurong rock caverns. The what, Mr. Go the Hat? Guys, this place isn't even close to what they're telling you. If you think the Strait of Hormuz is a problem for oil, think again. But let's stick to the facts. Bollards, half the bollards in Melbourne, if not nearly all of them, are AI. At any tick of the clock, if you come to Melbourne and the guy in the hat's in the city of Melbourne, you'll find me lying on the ground next to a street bollard, trying to pick up the Bluetooth signal with my iPhone. People have met me that way, going, "What are you doing down there, bud?" No, I'm just getting the Bluetooth signal off this bollard. They're alive. Why did you think Melbourne? Anybody been to Melbourne?
Yeah.
Why did you think they had their problem reaction? What's it called? Why is it a car runs up the middle of Burke Street, runs everybody over, and next thing you've got all these bollards. Guy in the hat was already writing about it years prior and said they will put in their bollard system as well as their street lamp system. Your street lamps are smart. Who believes that?
Yeah.
Do you notice they don't look the same as they used to? And smart skids. So now what they've done in the Digital Twin City program, and again, to truly understand digital twin, my friends, you have to treat yourself. Go to the delectable, delicious Victorian website, government website, or type in Digital Twin City Victoria. Click on the guest portal. You won't have an administrator clearance, but you will have guest clearance. And let me tell you, it's enough for me. It's enough to make you physically ill. To realise what you have and I have and we have allowed to happen to our people. They have finished the job already. It's already done. There is, all the system is written. I can't really tell you it any other way. It's far too deep for me to explain it, but I highly, highly recommend, if you know how to use a database. Anybody know how to use a database, like do a search and stuff like that? If you know how to use a database, go and have a look, for God's sakes, of what these creatures have written. Understand what they're about to do here. It's all there. It's not my words. It's my words because I'm the poor guy that gets to tell you about it. And we've got a talk on Sunday at Dr. Ian Brighthope's group, and I'm going to be talking about not digital twin cities. You know what I'm going to be talking about to this medical group? The digital twin healthcare system.
Yes.
And that, I have had people physically leave the room crying. It will break you. If I was to start that here tonight, which I haven't got time to even go remotely near that, it would break you. There wouldn't be, half the people in this room would just get up and leave. Not because I'm lying, because it's too difficult for you to hear it. But you know what? You can go and verify it. You don't need the guy in the hat to rant at you. You just go and look it up. But the problem is it's too difficult to look it up because you don't want to see it. Nobody wants to see what they're about to do. I don't want to see it, but we have to see it. Who would rather know? I'd rather know. If you've got a family, who's got a family? Who's got kids? Who's got kids they like? I'll keep moving. How are we going for time, by the way? Are we nearly out?
Keep
Do you
going.
want to go a bit longer?
Keep going.
Because I also want to bring Kyle out to show some stuff in it, but I don't want to. This is a very big book, but I just Rise of Digital Twin Cities. I'm not going to talk about that. It's a big chapter. The next one, Digital Identity Trading, 2033. So what's going to happen? Digital IDs. Who's heard of digital IDs? Who thinks they're good? Who thinks they're bad? The ayes have it. Very bad. Half of it won't take place in the way you think it's going to take place. Most of it's going to take place biologically. Are you aware of it? They don't need you to have a passport anymore to go through an airport. That's coming. You could go to some airports, and I've already experienced it. I couldn't believe I was over, I can't remember where we were, I think we were in some tiny airport in UK. And I walked right through with didn't show anybody my passport. Just walked through and went, oh, this is really good. How good is it? So convenient. How good is this technology, guys? Just walk right through. Nobody stopped me, did anything. Is that good? But it's convenient. It was quick, it was fast, there was no lines. It's for your convenience. Why would it not be good? Digital identity trading. I write about all of these topics from the year 2033. What's going to happen is your digital ID is going to be tied to everything you ever do. Your bank accounts is going to be one of them, and no, your currency is not going to be Australian dollars. I hate to tell you, part of this sad, miserable exchange and reset is going to be central bank digital currency, programmable Australian dollars, probably called the EAUD, coming to a friendly central bank near you. Your currency will be debased by 10x. your Australian dollar will be wiped out. And I say that as a friend, because I'm going to watch the decimation of the middle class as it was decimated in every single reset for the past 200 years. You will be destroyed if you try to do it in currencies, but a lot of people here have good commodities. That's good, gold and silver. Good, just not currencies, because they're going to collapse it into the EAUD. It's still the Australian dollar. It'll still be sold to you as a good thing, because EAUD can get you a lot. You'll be able to buy lots of stuff with your electronic Australian dollar. The only problem is, most people won't be able to get one single Australian dollar because it'll only be worth 10 cents in Australian currency. Long story. Digital identity trading, what this chapter is all about is your need to survive in a digital system. You're going to start doing dirty deals with your friends. So your currency will stop working, it'll be geo-fenced, it'll expire. Your identity will be connected to your medical system, medical records, your driver's license. Your car will just stop working. Your car will just stop working. It won't work anymore. Who believes that? Your car will be driving down the freeway and it'll stop. Why? You didn't pay a tax bill. They'll come up with a message.
Even an electric car.
Electric car. And electric car. Let's say that for now. Yes.
Tim, worse than that is that it can be, can and will be hijacked and driven against your will to a very dangerous area where you can get mugged and beaten and raped and all that kind of stuff. That's the worst case scenario.
Oh, so to Melbourne, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or drive straight over a cliff.
So, this is happening before your very eyes. The entire digital ID system, being a hardcore database guy, back in the days I used to program heavily in SQL, which is a Microsoft product. One thing I learned about was the primary key of all databases started with a single 2 letters, ID, identifier. All databases are driven by that. And what they're going to do is they're building a warehouse. At the very top of the warehouse, there is a little Christmas tree, and that is a little star on top of the Christmas tree, and that is your ID number in the system. So Guy in the Hat is now ID number 1. Let me explain how the system functions. So ID system number 1 wakes up one day. They know everything I'm doing, they know everything I'm thinking. ID number 1 has a medical record, he has a driver's license, he has a business or a couple of businesses, he can see who his network is because you've been using something called Lifebook, which they call Facebook, which has nothing to do with the cyborg called Zuckerberg. If you think he's real, go do some more research. It was LifeLog originally, is the name of the program, nothing to do with those guys. And they know who your friends are, who your friends' friends are. They know what you bought yesterday. They know where you're likely to travel to work because you use a GPS. They know if you catch Uber or taxis, or if you walk, or if you catch a train or a bus. They know every single path that you are going to take because everything is tracked and traced. You can see it. You can see it. They've already done it. Melbourne is done. I can see everywhere I've been in Melbourne on any given day from the government's perspective, not from mine. And now we're getting down to every step you take, every breath you take, I'll be watching you. You were programmed, my friends. Carbon credit footprint. Literally every footprint. You are walking on footpaths that have routers underneath them. They are fully monitored. Every step, the pressure of every step, whether you're wearing rubber-soled shoes, leather-soled shoes, whether you're walking on concrete, grass, bitumen, it's all done. Melbourne is done. Finished. They are now, in some states of this country, starting to charge you for going into public parks. You can walk on the footpath, but you walk on the grass, you're going to pay for it. You walk on the beach, you're really going to pay for it. So your digital ID will control and track everything you do. But here's the kicker. Sorry, go on, Dave.
And because of the voice, if you're walking on land that's got a connection to the Indigenous, you'll be paying even more.
And you probably won't even... Exactly. But it's in real time. So you don't have a voice in that system. It happens whether you like it or not. Your license disappears. Cancelled. Why? Click here to find out why. You said something against the Prime Minister. 7 demerit points. This is a points-based system. And you can get extra points by doing things you're not going to want to do. And you're going to lose points really easily. And your currency will decide what you can buy, where you can buy, how you can buy. And this is where humans become creative. This is when we start to figure out how the system functions. And we start trading amongst each other. So for example, one of the things I loved was one of the devices they used to put in cars to stop people driving them with when they were drunk. They have a tube, and people would just get their mates to blow it. Like, hey, mate, can you blow into this tube so my car can... And so humans are creative. That's what I love about humans. No matter how much stuff they chuck at us, we'll come up with something. You'll be trading digital ID. You'll figure out a way, once your credit score drops below a certain point and you become persona non grata, you'll figure out from your mates and others how to trade. I wrote this very detailed chapter giving you some hot tips on how to trade some ID tokens. It's pretty crazy. This is where they're taking you. I mean, tell me if you think this sounds crazy. Does it sound plausible? If I'd done this talk 10 years ago, people would have thought I'm a nutter.
No.
I do it 10 years later, people still think I'm a nutter. Just not as nutter as I was 10 years ago. Some other things here, the critical 4 positions of the dollar, I won't go into this, we'll keep moving through here. Some of this is getting more into monetary systems. This one I spoke about, your housing titles we spoke about last time, Kenton might remember and others, David might remember, big talk I gave on your housing titles. You don't own them, you will never own them, you will lose them on this reset, 1000% guaranteed because you've already lost them. And how do we know that? Because the Uniform Commercial Code, which I think Kenton's going to reference in something called the New Deal or the book called The Great Taking, the Uniform Commercial Code was actually modified to change the word beneficiary to remove 400 years of Western ownership of assets, collateralised assets. They're gone. Stop trying to own your real estate and don't come to us when you finally find it all out. I'm telling you in advance. I'm giving you a heads up. So, just so you understand that your Constitution in Australia, Section 51, subsection 31 of the Australian Constitution, was an exact replica of the 5th Amendment of the United States Constitution ratified in 1789. The 5th Amendment of the United States Constitution is one of those beautiful little clauses that comes after the right to free speech, the right to bear arms, 2nd Amendment. Then you get all these lovely little amendments. And then you get to number 5, the 5th Amendment. And you know what that says?
Right to ownership.
Government can take anything they like from you. Isn't that great? They have supreme power. In the United States, they even gave it a nice name called eminent domain.
Yes.
Eminent domain. You lose it all when we say so. They gave themselves the power. And Australia copied them with the Australian Constitution. Whatever the hell that is. And we've got Section 51, subsection 31, which now means you are basically dealing with eminent domain. If the government wants your house, there isn't anything you can do about it. Don't bother launching a legal case against the government. There's nothing you can do. There has never ever been, to this day, a single case brought against the Australian government by any legal firm in the history of Australia to stop an acquisition of land title. It doesn't happen. The only people that have claim to land title in this country are who? First Nations. Are you First Nations?
And that's a fraud too.
Yeah, I mean it could be.
It is.
But allodial title is the only title. I'll keep moving. Isn't it great? Isn't this such a cheery talk?
Tim, on that point, the allodial title has been eroded in the native title because they're only given native title under the Crown, under the Constitution. And so they no longer recognise the original title, which is the purpose of the CASA group, General Australian States Assemblies.
And this is really we are going to see not just, and potentially the loss of allodial title as well. So you're saying it's not being recognised?
Yeah, well, it's already gone.
Yeah.
Because the native title is granted under the corporate constitution, not the Commonwealth Constitution.
Well, yeah.
So there was SBS have a very short video on what's it called? talked about it here before.
Princess Speech? King's Speech?
The case of two Aboriginal blokes who were taking undersized shellfish. They were charged and they brought in the King's Seal, it's called, the King's Seal on FPS. So they took the King's Seal in South Australian law. The King granted the right of the native peoples to continue their traditional way of life. So they took that into court and they won the case in a few minutes. But the state government appealed that case. They weren't told the appeal was being heard. The appeal was heard, which is a breach of due process. The appeal was awarded to the state government, which overruled that, and they then had their lawyers take it to the High Court. The High Court heard the matter on the basis that they could only introduce anything observed in the previous case, which ruled out their application of the King's Seal, and the High Court awarded them the right to do their traditional hunting and so forth under the Native Titles Act, so under Commonwealth Supposed Law. So that's the South Australian situation, but pretty much across Australia that applies.
Well, it's interesting, and thanks very much for that, Kenton, because I mean, last time my entire talk here was on title, and so I don't want to go too much down that path, but I think my point is, notwithstanding the status of native title in Australia, my point is, if you have a look at your current title system, you're no longer under a deed system. You're under a government guarantee, which was based on the Torrens title, the South Australian model, and now you are in transition. Transition from what? See, the thing is, there's an act here called the Transition of Land Act, and that act is enabling your government to transition your title. When I say to you, your title is being transitioned, what is the next question you ask?
From which gender to which gender?
From what to what? What are you transitioning me from? I'll tell you what it was originally. It was Crown grants. Originally it was a Crown grant. That was prior to the Torrens title system. Then those grants, deeds, were really true ownership. They actually were some kind of true ownership system. But of course the government doesn't really want you to own anything. They want you to think you do. There's a difference. You know, you never really get anywhere, right? They just want you to think you're getting somewhere. So they switched the title system to a government guarantee. Government guarantees this is your land. Do you trust them? With Section 51 that says they can take it if they don't like it. Now we've got Transition of Land Act 1958, exactly 100 years after the Torrens Title Act in South Australia. And we've got this Transition of Land Act. You know what they're transitioning you from to? They're transitioning you from government guarantees, which are fee simple titles, to digital. And now you're on the blockchain. Guess what happens to your digital aid if you don't follow your government mandates and your government decrees?
Erased.
You lose your property. It is so easy to lose a property in a country like Australia because they don't want you to own it. And they don't care what you think. And the incredible amount of ways you can lose a property in Australia, my favourite of all, is contamination. Your Australian government tried it. In fact, Perth recently did it with the... What was the little bug, the borer, the something borer, the shot hole borer? The shot borer? Anybody hear about the shot hole borer bug? And they just said, the West Australian government came in and said, well, looks like this whole area over here has shot hole borer in it, which is basically termite. We're going to declare it a contaminated area. As soon as the government does that, it triggers Section 51, subsection 31 of the Australian Constitution in conjunction with land acquisition. It means the government is poised under Section 4 of that Act at their will and discretion to take all properties in that region. So they could have declared the city of Perth, think about this, a contaminated zone. Easily. Said the shot hole borer is right through this city. It's all contaminated. You know how much claim to ownership you have in that model? None. Go look at your constitution, it says it. You know how much defence you could mount? None. What the government would say, I'll just say this thing and I'll let you say it. What the government would say to you is, look, you've got the right to sell your property. Great. I've got a property in the middle of a contaminated zone that's contaminated with termites. Who would like to buy my property? No. It's going cheap.
Compensation on just terms.
compensation on just terms, right. Yeah, I'm glad you laughed after that, mate. Yep.
Yeah, we've had, here in South Adelaide, we've had hundreds and hundreds of trees that have been cut down and shredded due to supposed pine scale on the pine trees. And right across the road from me there was a park, a reserve rather, a reserve where hundreds and hundreds of trees were all cut down in the Titchigalley area, hundreds of trees in the whole area which has been cut down and shredded because of a supposed pine scale infection.
And your fear here is not the trees are getting cut down. Your fear should be, what if they trigger Section 51, subsection 51? They can do it. They do it all the time. They mostly do it for freeways and parklands and train railways and so on and so on. But what if they don't? What if they have another COVID? What if they get hantavirus off the ground and they declare the whole of Australia to be contaminated? They never did that in COVID. Did you notice they fell short of that? They were poised to do it. They declared a state of emergency. And that means government can make the rules as they see fit. No upper lower house, no legislature, just make up the rules. And they can do that by declaring a state or a region, anything. How much is a property worth, as I said before, in a contaminated zone? Nothing. You lose. Lots and lots of stuff here. I'm just going to quickly flick through because I want to bring Kylie up. Sorry guys. Wealth. So one of the big things that we do in our company is we make people wealthy. I know that sounds weird. People say to me all the time, how do you make people wealthy, Mr. Goma? We teach them. You know, people say to me sometimes online, I get a lot of abuse. Who gets abused online? Don't feel alone. I get abused every day. I say things like, if you want wealth assets, if you'd like wealth, then buy assets that have that ability. Don't use mechanisms that don't. What is a mechanism that everybody uses that could never give you wealth? Fiat currency. Fiat because it has no value. This is what we teach all day, every day. Have we had fiat currencies right back to the dawn of mankind? No. They are a central bank creation. Central bank bad, not good. Central bank very bad. Central banks printed more currency, especially in Australia, than any other time in history. During what period? During COVID. They debased your dollar. Your Australian dollar, if you do it enough, will destroy you. Are you aware of that? Prior to the 19th century, there was no currencies. Not really. I mean, there were some trial currencies. But mostly it was coinage. Still, constitutionally in the US, Article 1, Section 10. Go and read it. You know what it says in Article 1, Section 10 of the US Constitution about monetary systems? Debt can only be extinguished using gold coin. That's it. Not with a fiat currency. You need coinage. You need bullion. You need commodities. The same commodities that your ancestors' ancestors used to use before the central banks came in and replaced it with debt. And every single time you pull out a $5 note or a $20 note, remember you are looking at debt. That's it. Did you know that? Yeah. And anything you do with that note is going to be debt also. And it's debased many times. The headline rate for inflation, what is it currently in Australia? 5.6%. We have a CPI. Does anybody even know what that is? What's a CPI? It's a basket of goods and services that the government measures inflation by. And you know what they do if the inflation rate starts going up? They kick the thing in that basket that's causing the problem out of the basket and replace it with something that makes the inflation rate just look a little bit better. Guess what was the #1 vertical line on the CPI last year? Guess which I guess element went up the most? And it was transport. Transport went up 31%. You're told that inflation is 5.6%. I will tell you, my friends, on this reset, the reason it's so important to know companies like BtR Reset is because we know historically, currently and futuristically what's going to happen to your currency. You know why? Because it happened in every reset. You know what figure the currency goes to? Zero! You will end up at zero. Who feels that they go to work and they work endlessly and still can't do any more than they did yesterday? If you're in that bunch, that's exactly where this goes. The only way you can survive in a country like Australia is don't do Australia. Get out of Australia. Leave. Go somewhere else. Who's thought about leaving? Everyone. Why? Because these creatures, especially the Elmer Fudd thing and the big-eared dude, the treasurer, those guys are on a mission. They were tasked by two organisations to decimate the Australian people before the year 2030 to usher in the EAUD. And they're going to do it. And they started this year with a bunch of new taxes designed to stop you doing the number one thing of buying real estate. They don't want you in it. Get out of it. Larry Fink, sitting on the World Economic Forum board or just off to the starboard bow of the board there, he's got a plan for you. Do you know what that is for real estate? Tokenisation. I've spoken about it so many times. Most people never heard of it. They're going to tokenise everything for you. Your parks, your beaches, your cafes, your restaurants, your houses, your properties. Stop doing it. Move to assets that store value. Real estate doesn't store value, it's going backwards. And they will ensure it gets destroyed. I will guarantee you that. Because BlackRock and their global real estate securities fund, which you don't know about, is a major part of the real estate industry in Australia, which means BlackRock and their buddies have got their tentacles all over the property market here. And they will collapse your properties to zero and pick them up for pennies on the dollar. And you're going to try to survive that in a currency that's decimated. It's an actual travesty, in my opinion, of what is going to happen here. The only plausible way you could survive something like that is to not buy into the system. Don't use currencies, don't purchase real estate. Actually, I'll expand it. Don't buy stocks, shares, equities, bonds, annuities, treasuries, 401ks, IRAs, superannuation, cash in the commercial bank, real estate. If you're doing any of that garbage, don't come to me in the year 2033 and say, Tim, I think I should have read the book. You get destroyed. Not because I said it, because the cycle of currencies sends them to zero. Because you have a central bank that's going to print it to zero. They're going to make sure it gets there. And I'll tell you right now, the real estate, do you really think the government real estate figure is accurate? Do you really think anything these guys have told you is true? No. It's not 5.6%. I'll have a guess at it, probably closer to 20 to 25%. That's my opinion. How do I know that? Because commodities are running very, very hard and have been for a little while now. Silver ran 2x last year. Who's holding silver? Who remembers January? Just kept running. Remember that? I mean, it came back. Gold as well. Bitcoin, whether you like it or not. And I might try to finish on this one because I've got so many more chapters and I've got to get through this. The bit metallic standard. Who hates Bitcoin? Hands up. Why? That's a fair point. Trust.
It's no different to a fiat currency.
Okay?
It's still digital.
It reminds me of electronics.
These are all true points. Who uses a debit card? Who taps and goes? What form does that take? And you use it every day without question. Debased 18% last year. Bitcoin ran to 126,000 USD. Still people, I've seem to say it's not a good thing. The most successful asset in the history of mankind is not gold or silver, it's actually Bitcoin. And I'm not even a Bitcoin fan, I'm just a researcher. My major position is in what asset? Have a guess.
Gold.
Silver. Fine art, collectibles, and silver. My secondary position is Bitcoin, and my third position is gold. What you don't understand about Bitcoin is not Bitcoin itself. What you've got to understand about monetary investors, which is what we are, is we do something unique in Australia that's never been done before. You're used to speaking to financial people. You know, the big sweetie people that make a profit off your demise, right? And watch you go down with the ship whilst they don't invest in the things they tell you to do. The difference is we're not financial. In fact, if somebody comes up to me and says, have you got a financial degree? I go, no. They don't do monetary degrees. There's a reason the universities don't have monetary degrees. You want to know why? Because if you understood monetary, everybody would be wealthy and you wouldn't be able to be controlled. Not good for a government. So you go do something stupid like go and become wealthy. All right, but how do you do that? Well, it's actually very simple. The first thing you need to do is understand that the system is designed to destroy you and your ancestors and those that came before them. Right up until we had central banks. Prior to that, everything was fine. If you had a farm, if you've got cattle, you've got a dairy farm, if you've got real assets, you should be pretty okay. So commodities of any kind, actually. But monetary, gold, silver, and now we're looking down the barrel of Bitcoin. Bitcoin for us is an interesting one because gold, do you want to know how much gold has moved in 250 years in the US since the first coinage act in 1792? How much has the gold price moved? The true value of gold in 250 years has moved how much? Have a wild guess. 20 bucks. Actually 22. $22. That's it. It's never moved any further. It was $19.57 in the Coinage Act of 1792, just after the ratification of the US Constitution. And today it's $42.22. No, it's not, Mr. Guy in the Hat. We've got a spot market and it's $4,500 US. Yes, I know, that's a futures market. That's a little different. That's kind of like the trading price of gold. But that's not the real value of gold. Gold hasn't moved at all. The central banks use it as a value asset. Otherwise, 63 central banks would go bankrupt. So my point is, where does Bitcoin come in? What gives Bitcoin away as one of the most important digital assets of the modern era? Anybody want to have a flying swing at it? And I'm not here to sell you Bitcoin, I've got to be honest. We don't sell Bitcoin. We have brokers that sell Bitcoin. But would you like to know what it is? Alright. So, with due respect, it is a digital asset. But then so is your currency. Currency is worthless, but you still use it. You go buy real estate in a 10% fractional system. You pay $228,000 to the commercial bank over 25 years, hoping that you'll have some kind of title at the end of it, which is probably collateralized by then. And now you have a dead capital asset that's going to get sold on a bear market. You are in bankruptcy and you will die in abject poverty. Not because you're stupid, it's just that that's what 70% of the middle class does. And the government's happy to take it from you when you try to give it to your children as an inheritance, and now you give 50% to the government as well. But by that stage, it'll be tokenized. Won't even exist. But here's what I want to tell you about Bitcoin, and something you need to think about. The world is going digital. Did you notice that? Gold is not good in a digital world. It was never good. Gold standards don't work. And you're talking to a guy that could talk gold standards for longer than I've done this talk by 10. And you don't want that, trust me. Gold is not a good asset in a digital world. Why? Because it is slow to move, it is bulky, and it's unaccountable. You can shove it in the vaults of central banks. Just have a look at Fort Knox. No one knows if there's any gold there at all. They tell you there is, so you believe them. How much gold has the Australian government got? Where's the 83 tonnes the RBA used to have? Don't know, according to the bloke, sorry, the lady, it looks like a bloke, that runs the central bank, Michelle Bullock, who's on 1.3 million a year. Where's the gold? It's unaccountable. No one knows. But Bitcoin, it's different. It's fully accountable. There's a full record of every Bitcoin transaction throughout history. There is not one transaction ever taken place that's not accountable. It's decentralized. Who owns Bitcoin? Who owns Bitcoin? Anybody? Yeah. Hands up. Yep, go on that. Yeah? You sir. You do. No, I mean, who owns Bitcoin? Not you, I mean, sorry. Who owns Bitcoin? Like, is it BlackRock? Is it State Street, Vanguard? Ripple Networks? You don't know. Good thing or a bad thing? Seems to have been pretty lucrative so far, right? We're talking asset that started at zero is now worth, even today, around the 63,000 USD. You can't actually calculate how many times you have got a return on that asset. You can't. It's impossible. It's outrun gold and silver by orders of magnitude. Even though gold is the most stable asset on the planet, I agree. And so is silver. Silver's pegged to gold on the GSR, gold-silver ratio. But let me help you understand something here. There are two parts to the monetary system that you should be aware of. One are central banks, and one is the treasuries. Has Australia got a central bank? Yep. The RBA. Has the US got a central bank? The United States got a central bank?
12.
Yep. Subsidiaries? Yep, but technically one. There is 12.
Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve. Yep, there is 12 central banks. That's good. That was a very good answer, actually. But technically it is still basically one, essentially. Privately owned. Don't you find that interesting? Probably been the cause of most of the mass destruction of the United States since 1913. However, there's another part to it, and that's the Treasury. The United States Treasury. Nothing to do with the Federal Reserve. Constitutional Treasury. Now here's what you do need to know. The US Treasury. US is the most powerful nation on earth by GDP, for many reasons. Militarily, also because it still is the world reserve currency. Believe it or not, in 2026 we still use a worthless piece of garbage that has dead presidents all over it that you wouldn't give to your worst enemy. But that thing still somehow has value despite the fact that central banks are running for the hills from it. But it's still growing, and the United States is desperately finding creative ways to keep it going. But here's what they did. There are 3 reserves in the United States that are critical to the survival of the United States. Do you know what those reserves are? One of them is the United States Energy Reserve. Basically oil. The other one is the United States Gold Reserves. 8,500 metric tonnes held apparently somewhere between Fort Knox and some other location that we don't know about. Mostly, probably because it doesn't exist. Gold and oil. But there's one more. Did you know that? That they have a reserve asset. Another one.
The people?
Anybody?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is a reserve asset of the US Treasury. Signed into life on March 6, 2025 by the 47th President of the United States. Do you know why he did that?
47th?
47th?
Who?
2025?
Trump, was it?
Well, you can, there's no 48 yet. I mean, unless you know something we don't know. I mean, there's a couple of people that are
I wasn't sure what number we're up to.
47th, yeah, we're up to 47. You have 3 reserve assets, my friends. Oil, in case something goes wrong with the energy system. Gold, in case something goes wrong with the monetary system. And Bitcoin, in case what? Where'd you go, guys? That's what I was going to say there. Why? Why Bitcoin? How did Bitcoin get in there? How? How is it that this asset created by Satoshi and the CAA, and apparently is worthless, is now reserve level? That's not by accident, my friends. That is by design. Under which Act? The Genius Act. They created something called actually prior to the Genius Act. It was created as something called the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Now you know. You don't have to write to the guy in the hat and tell me that Bitcoin's going to zero. The US Treasury is buying Bitcoin under the 5th Amendment eminent domain clause of the United States Constitution. They're confiscating 1,000 Bitcoin between now and the year 2030. Don't you find that interesting? They've got it alongside gold and oil. Yeah, Dave.
What was it? What was it before Bitcoin? Was it the dollar? Because that's what on the American dollar bill it says, "In God we trust." God is gold, oil, dollar.
Well, the US only really had two.
So was it just gold and oil before Bitcoin came in as a third, or was there
Well,
another?
Bitcoin didn't appear. Okay, so there was no Bitcoin before 2009. There was no Bitcoin before 2009. So the entire history of the US was built on, well, it didn't have currency prior to 1913. It had some form in terms of greenbacks after the American Civil War. But the US was built on gold and silver, mainly silver. Mainly the Spanish silver dollar. That was predominantly what it was built on. Yes, oil, but oil after 1858, when you saw Standard Oil. But the US has run forever on the gold. The gold standard was left in 1933, April 5. Don't let people tell you we left the gold standard in 1971 under Richard Nixon. That's garbage. The world left it in 1933, April 5. The US has not been on a gold standard for nearly 100 years. That dollar is worthless. And its oil reserves have been around since about 1858-ish. Now we got another one. 2009 Strategic Bitcoin Reserve.
Okay.
Do you notice something different about the term Bitcoin though? Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. What does the word strategic mean? When you hear the word strategic, what do you think of straight away?
Strategy.
Right, which leads you to think of what other word? Beginning with W, three-letter word. Emergency or war. Right. They deliberately put the word strategic in front of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Why? Would you like to know why? Because how many Bitcoin are there? Unlimited? 21 million. How many Bitcoin in the world right now? 19.5 million. When is the rest going to be minted? By the year 2140, in another 100 or so years. My friends, this is a monetary asset. As a monetary researcher, I'm telling you, this is a monetary asset. It has a limit. It has, what's the word I'm looking for? It has not, rarity, sorry. Rarity. It is a rare digital asset in a digital world, completely decentralized, completely away from currencies and central banks. Central banks don't want to know about it. One central bank does, I think Czech Republic or Poland, one of those. But apart from that, they're just trailing. So the final bit, again, I don't want to really go on too much more, but the biggest chapter in my book that made my buy, the book sold many thousands around the world, mostly to Bitcoin people and monetary people. We've sold tens of thousands of this book because of this chapter that I'm going to show you right now. Hyper-Bitcoinization. What? Tell me that's not a real word. And I'll finish on this, because this thing just rambles on and on. But hyper-Bitcoinization, a new unit of account. You know, I'm one of the first people in the world to ever postulate this theory. I have been called everything from something stupid to something ridiculous. And I still get up with a smile on my face, and we still go and buy more and more and more. Because what you don't understand, or maybe you do, is that gold was never a unit of account. Gold was not a unit of account. I know people going, I don't even know what a unit of account is. Do I even need to know? Yes, you need to know. Because that is what gives your currency value. If you don't know what the unit of account is, how are you going to work out what the value is? Gold can be broken up into smaller parts. What are some of the parts gold can be broken up into? What sort of measurements? An ounce? What's smaller than an ounce? A gram? What's smaller than a gram? Grain? What's smaller than a grain? Nothing. Okay, half a grain. But the point is, we used to trade grams. That's how we used to trade. That's how valuable gold was. Grains. Not even grams. How many grains in a gram? Anybody?
1,000.
Is it 30 something or 40 something? 40 something grains in a gram or something ridiculous like that? We should know this, guys. We're totally blank. But anyway, the point is a lot. So you're down to literally tweezers. Tweezers. Yeah, here, I'm going to pay you for your donkey. Okay, there's 2 grains. All right, 3 grains. All right? Okay. So then we got to grams. How many grams in a troy ounce? 31.1. Then we got to ounces. Then we got to kilos. Now, if you're into kilos in these assets, you've got immeasurable power and immeasurable wealth. So gold could be broken into ounces, grams, and grams. Yeah? So you don't just say, we're on a gold standard. Nobody in 1944 at Bretton Woods, when they signed the US dollar into life as the world reserve currency, said, hey, we're on the gold standard. No, they didn't say that. What they did is they pegged the US dollar to gold at $1 per gram, or US dollar equaling $35 per troy ounce. It's basically $1 per gram, just over, about 1.1. Your unit of account was the troy ounce. In fact, in reality, the unit of account became the gram, not gold. Gold didn't mean anything. If I said to you, I've got gold, you'd go, that's awesome. What's your next question? How much? Where is it? Is it 24 carat? Where do you keep it? So, Bitcoin, my friends, is not what you're meant to be looking at. And I get that the whole world is getting excited about Bitcoin. Whenever we mention Bitcoin on our channels, I can talk about gold, silver, you know, I mention Bitcoin and it's like, boo, get him, he's a, you know. So, what you don't understand about Bitcoin is Bitcoin came packaged with something unique, and it was done deliberately, and I have a feeling I know what these creatures are going to try to do here. Now, I could be completely wrong, disclaimer, but it did sell a lot of books. The theory I came up with was extraordinary, and it's only because I'm a bullion dealer that I came up with it. And I remember ringing up Bishop from Stormbreak. Who's heard of Stormbreak, by the way? Who heard of Bishop? He's a bit of a larger-than-life character. And I rang him up and I was writing this book, and this book was written on 4 different continents, and I was raced out of this library and I rang him up and I said, listen Bish, I've just come up with the craziest idea, I think I've got it. And he said, what is it? And I said, hyper-Bitcoinization. He goes, what? I said, I think I know what's going to happen to Bitcoin. The US Treasury is created as a strategic reserve asset. That is a fact. You don't need the guy in the hat. You just go and look it up. People need to stop telling me I'm wrong. Just go and look it up. Type. Strategic Bitcoin reserve, you'll see. They're going to create 1,000 Bitcoin over the next 5 years. Why would they do that? Why would they put Bitcoin as a reserve asset alongside gold and oil? Why? Why do you think? If there are only 3 reserve assets in the entire United States, why would one of them be Bitcoin if it was created by the CIA and it's Satoshi? Epstein did it. Why? Because it's digital. And the world is moving digital. And just off your starboard bow, there are central bank digital currencies that are going to change the way you trade. You'll notice just after they created the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, they came up with 2 more pieces of legislation, just like Franklin D. Roosevelt did under the New Deal. More banking legislation was written on the last reset in 1933 than any other period in history. And they've just gone and done it again under the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He signed into life the Genius Act, creating an entirely new currency system for the United States on the blockchain to bypass the Federal Reserve's US dollar. And the other thing, of course, is something called the Clarity Act, which redefines Bitcoin for the first time in history as a commodity. I know what's going to happen, but I can't tell you to do or change the way you're thinking or what you're doing in your investment strategy, but what I can do is I can educate you. And that Bitcoin does what gold did in 1944 for the US in 2026. That if we have a currency reset, you won't have a Bitcoin standard. It will be, Bitcoin is not the unit of account, just like gold is not a unit of account. The troy ounce or the gram is the unit of account, not gold. Gold is just the word you use. Something has to be pegged to something to be a unit of account. And do you want to know what's something interesting about Bitcoin? It has 2 things. And I didn't even know it had this thing. I mean, everybody's heard of Satoshi, right? I mean, Satoshi is the smallest increment of a Bitcoin. That could be the unit of account we're looking at. If we had Satoshi, I know that sounds weird because it sounds like we're dealing with funny money here. But the truth is, Bitcoin has been built. Who cares who built it and who cares why? With an ability to be able to split into 100 million parts. One Bitcoin split into 100 million parts. That creates a unit of account, my friends. But that wasn't the bit that interested me. I mean, it was interesting. What was interesting was the other thing I found that no one knew, not even the most ardent of Bitcoin guys, was something called MBTC. I'd never heard of it. And I suddenly realised that we are either looking at an asset that can be split around about 100,000 times into MBTC, or 100 million times, I don't think 100 million is quite right, about a million, maybe it is, into Satoshi. My point here is Bitcoin is not what you think it is. It has an ability to be the global monetary system of the future. It was built like that, not by accident. And the thing that gives it away is the most powerful nation on earth seems to think so. I can tell you right now that when Franklin D. Roosevelt, and I have researched the New Deal and the Great Taking and the entire history of the Great Reset of 1933, and I can tell you not one piece of legislation that was written wasn't enacted. They used every part of it, the Glass-Steagall Act, the Securities Exchange Commission, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. They used all of it. They mobilised all of it. And I'm telling you, they now have the strategic Bitcoin reserve. And the word strategic, just to end on this one, maybe, was because if they don't do it, someone else is going to do it. And the US do not want to go quietly into that good night. They do not want to see the end of the US dollar. That's why you've got stablecoin. What, Mr. Gunderhat? I don't even know what stablecoin is. Doesn't matter. They created the Genius Act to replace their own US dollar because they're getting ready for the new world. They're getting ready for the world they're taking you into. And I'm telling you, you need monetary assets. Yes, silver, 100%. That's our #1 position. We're bullion dealers. Gold, amazing asset. Fine art and collectibles, yes. Bitcoin, 1000%. Why? Because you're going to be dealing on a completely new value system. Not pegged to gold. Forget gold. No one's going to peg anything to gold. Forget it. No one's going to peg anything to silver. But they would peg it to a digital monetary asset that's a reserve asset of the US Treasury. Because they did that in 1933. And what you don't know, and this is probably a good one to finish on, this is my final point, because I'm going to, otherwise I'll just ramble all night. But let's just ramble on. I want to tell you something just in closing. Why I think I know where this goes. Because sometimes to understand the future you've got to understand the past. So I researched the past. And I spoke for the first 2 or 3 years on my channel and on my national tours. I gave history lessons. I spoke about history. Till people said to me, we don't want to hear about history anymore, this is going to happen. We want to hear about the future. So I wrote a book about the future. Now people want to know about the history. And the reason that's important to know is because here's something that happened that you may not be aware of. That the Federal Reserve had amassed so much power by 1933. They were out of control. They crashed the US dollar. It took 20 years for the US dollar to crash. The United States Treasury confiscated gold under the eminent domain clause of the 5th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And you want to know something? You want to know whose gold they confiscated? Whose gold did they take?
People. People.
City people.
They did.
Except Texas.
But there was someone else they took the gold from. Someone very prominent. And they still have it to this day. Anybody?
The bankers?
Yes. They took the gold of the Federal Reserve. All of them. 8,000 metric tons confiscated under the eminent domain clause of the US Constitution for a cheque given to them at the time valued at $11 billion. That is why your gold in your vaults in the United States is currently valued at $42.22 because it exactly replicates the 8 million tons converted to troy ounces to buy back 11 million. If the Federal Reserve was to cash the $11 billion cheque, which is hilarious because they're the one that printed the money in the first place. But if they were to cash that cheque, they could get back every ounce of their 8 million tonnes of gold. My point here is that the US Treasury has enacted every part of their legislation at some point, either for their own gain or for some other gain. They don't create legislation to pretend. They create legislation to use it. And when you've got something called a strategic Bitcoin reserve that's that obvious, it's every bit as obvious as what they did with the confiscation of gold in 1933. It was blindingly obvious where they would take that. The US went on to a silver standard straight after that and stayed on the silver standard until 1968. The US dollar has traded on oil now since 1974. but now it doesn't really trade on anything. And this system's coming to an end, and you need to have the right positions. And I'm telling you, as a monetary guy who's written 3 books on this subject, those 3 positions are number 1, silver. Number 2, you must have some position in Bitcoin. Not because I said it or because I love it. It's because the 47th president, the guy with the spray-on air that appears in books that no one can explain in 1889 with his son Barron Trump and Pence and a little dog called Don. That guy has created a reserve level asset called Bitcoin. And I'm telling you guys, if you are holding this asset and it becomes a unit of account, every single person in this room would become wealthy beyond measure. And resets do 2 things. They destroy people and they create infinite wealth, depending which side you're on. It's that simple. If you sit in the right positions, you go to the stars. If you sit in the wrong positions, you'll be wiped out. That's it. So I'm going to start to wind up there because this goes on and on. Have you found any of that interesting? I'm going to wind it up. So I don't know where we go from here, but I know we've got Kenton wanted to say a few words, and I know Kylie wants to show you some product. We've got books for sale over here as well if you want to pick up this book, 2033. And Kylie's got a lot of product that she really wanted to show you. But if you have questions, I'm happy to answer any questions as well, and also Kylie can even help me out on the questions if you have any at all. I don't know if you've got any, if you want to leave it till later, or what do you want to do?
Do we want to do questions now or later?
Let's get Kylie.
Yeah.
Hello? Can everyone hear me? There we go. Awesome. Well, I won't take up much of your time, but I do have some products here to show you. But what we'll do is over where the books are, I'll let you come over. You can see the products that we offer, and you can feel it, touch it, love it, like we do. But as Tim said, our whole, I guess, reason for starting BtR Bullion and what was born out of BtR is that we want you to be educated, we want you to be allocated in assets that are going to get you through this reset. So that's what we exist for. You know, Tim has given up the last 4, coming up to 5 years of his life educating people this way. I was one of the beneficiaries of that education. That's why I, as Tim said, followed him around, which wasn't quite right. But out of absolute gratitude for where he brought me and my family, I was trying to find a way to, I guess, provide for my family after my husband had passed away in a way that I wasn't certain how to do it. All I knew was you work hard, you save hard, and you buy property. And I had done that, and I'd owned property outright, I'd owned property with mortgage, and I'd owned investment properties. And I wasn't wealthy. In fact, I was stressed, and I wasn't able to find a way forward for my family. Then I came across this crazy guy in a hat who spoke something that absolutely resonated deep within my spirit. And he was talking about gold and silver investing. So I sold my last property in 2022 and I invested it all 100% into gold and silver. And I haven't looked back from that moment. Now I can stand in freedom and in truth and tell you that I have become immeasurably wealthy, and my family are now in a position where we have created generational wealth, and that will pass down from me to my children and beyond. And my children are now 27, 24 and 23, and they all invest this way, and they all are creating immeasurable wealth for themselves as well. So, you know, Tim gave up so much of who he was to bring this free of charge to people all over Australia. I benefited from that. We would love for you to benefit from it as well. And we'd love for you to come in and feel the product, see what we offer, and have a conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. Before we continue with some questions, I'm going to leave time for Kenton. I want to try something a little different. I have come across a video, goes for a few minutes, and what I want to do is we'll play the video, and then what I want to do is have Tim react to the video and give him his opinion on it. You don't know what's coming up, but I think it sort of aligns with what you have said.
Changes that you cannot avoid. This is going to be a disturbing segment to some of you, and I need to give you some cold, hard, brutal truths. Hi there, crypto fans. Hi there, remote viewing fans. Dick Allgaier here. Beautiful day at Ethereum Place. Okay, someone planned a new tokenized world that is about to be unveiled, unleashed, rolled out, developed, and you have no say in it. I say that you have no say because most people don't understand it. Most people have no understanding of what's been happening to them over the past couple of decades. Okay, I'm going to pose some questions to you. Now, some of you will push back on this, and I'll get a lot of comments, and I'll read them, and you'll say, I don't consent. No, we're going to fight this. It's the mark of the beast, and I'll never accept it. I'll ask you these questions. Did you give your consent to put surveillance cameras that record your every public move? Let me just ask you this. Did you vote on a camera at your bank? Did you vote on putting a camera at the checkout at every store? Did you vote on putting a camera in every parking garage, at every city intersection? You can't live your life in America today, in any city, without your every move being recorded. When did you consent to that? When did anyone ask you if it was okay if they put a camera up in every supermarket, every bank, every parking lodge, parking garage, your fitness center, Walmart, the bus stop, everywhere you go? Did you agree to that? What input did you give to the International Standards Organization, the ISO, to design the digital financial system? Because they have designed that. It's called ISO 222. The International Standard Organization has certain tokens that will run the world financial system. ISO 222. Did they consult you on that? Did you have any say? When you go to the bank to wire money using the SWIFT code, did you design that? Can you go to your bank and say, I demand that you don't use SWIFT. I demand that you don't use ISO 222. You have no say. Did you help design the Canton network? Canton network could be used to digitize all stocks. Did you consult with the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation when they decided to use Canton to tokenize all the stocks and all the securities in America? DTCC, Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, they handle $100 trillion worth of assets. The stock certificates, all the certificates of securities, they hold them. They're putting them all on the blockchain. They're going to be using the Canton network. Did you have a say in that? Did you create the Bitcoin code? Did you help write Bitcoin? No, you didn't. Did anyone ask you if it was okay to collect 20 years of metadata that is already stored and is being used to profile you? Let me ask you, what metadata did you say, okay, I agree to this? Your social media, your credit card purchases, all the movies you ever watched or liked on Netflix or any other streaming service on your box, everything you said or liked on Facebook, it's all in the algorithms. Your entire browser history, all your texts, all the health data from your fitness app, all of this data for 20 years without your consent, without your permission, without your knowledge. They didn't ask you. They've stored up everything you've done in their algorithms predicting your behavior, and nudging your behavior. That's a very important word. Your behavior is being nudged by what you're shown on Facebook and X and TikTok and Instagram and other social media. You cannot escape the surveillance state. You already have a digital ID. The surveillance state is here. You're in it. Your digital ID will be rolled out little by little as they tell you, well, you don't have to remember all those passwords. You don't really like two-factor authentication, do you? You don't like having to get a code on your email every time you want to do something at your bank. Why don't we just use your face? Someone planned a new tokenized world and you have no say. That's the bad news. The good news is, within this new system, you have a decision space, and you certainly have a decision space moving in to learn how to thrive within this system, and we talk about that at FFGRV, Future Forecasting Group, ffgrv.com. The coming changes you cannot avoid, but you can thrive in them. As I record this, Bitcoin is about 61,000. The big money has been driving the price of Bitcoin down. They're very strategic dumps of cryptos to make the price fall, killing the leveraged buyers, putting public sentiment out like, oh, Michael Saylor is selling Bitcoin. Saylor's company is going to go bankrupt. Oh, the ETFs are dumping Bitcoin. Oh, we're not buying Bitcoin because all the money's going into AI. The crypto fad is over. And everybody's going to dump their cryptos and the big money will scoop it up. And then what's going to happen? They're going to pass the Clarity Act and it will go on the biggest bull run in history. Yep, that's what's going to happen. I'll read your comments. If someone would like to come on and actually, I'll do a segment. We'll put you on Zoom with me side by side. We can debate this. Did you have a say in all these changes? What input did you have in the coming system, which is going to be a combination of the internet, blockchain, distributed ledger technology, and AI? We will be governed by these things: artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and the Internet of Things. Some of you didn't like that one, did you? Okay, let me have it. You can blast me in the comments.
So, there you go. Tim, what do you think of that?
Great. Back. Which part do you want me to comment on specifically? Do you want me to just talk about it generally?
Yeah, just
Well, first of all, I agree with you. There's nothing in that video I don't agree with. 100% accurate. Very well educated. Everything in that video we talk about DTCC in my book. There's a lot that didn't get mentioned in there. I should also mention, so everything he said was, I mean, I've been in this space a long time. I can tell when somebody knows what they're talking about and somebody doesn't, and he knows what he's talking about. Just want to say I am in complete agreement with everything he said in that video. Everything. Depository Trust Corporation, by the way, is part of the collateralization of your titles, your land titles. So DTCC, which he mentioned in here, is part of the collateralization of your land titles. And as he said, you didn't ask for any of them. But I will tell you where this goes. At some time in the near future, two things are going to change. You need to know this. Ownership. 400 years of ownership is gone now. And it'll all end up in DTCC. Something to do with the BlackRock Corporation or something like that. The other thing that's going to change is the way you trade, the way you sell things, and the way you buy things. I will promise you that will change. And what you've got to do to survive, and I guess my point to react to that video, because that was very good, is that you need to position yourself with knowledge. Do not be afraid. Don't just throw something out because it's foreign to you, because they're going to introduce a lot of foreign. It's going to be a lot of foreign here. You're not going to understand how tokenization works, but it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everybody. And he talks about tokenized assets here, which most of it is what you own. He talked about the ISO 222, which was something my company worked with. If people knew me back earlier, that's what people would know. That's what I worked with extensively, was ISO 222. Now, nobody in this room needs to know what ISO 20022 is, but what you do need to know is ISO is a subsidiary of the International Organisation for Standardisation, formed in 1947 as part of the UN. So these guys control everything to do with codes. Currency codes, country codes, even gold and silver have their own codes. In fact, I am one of the few people in the world, if probably the only person in the world I know of, that has spoken about the X class of currencies. Anybody ever heard of those? Of course you haven't, because I'm the only bloke who ever spoke about it. But do you know how critical it is to know about X class currencies? And we hold them. We are all holding X class currencies. Currencies that have no borders. Currencies that are a-sovereign. It's so important to become a sovereign. You know, the most important thing you need to almost do in this world is become a sovereign. Don't become sovereign of any particular nation on this reset. So yeah, I mean, if you're asking for my reaction, I love that. I love what he says. Very educational, very clever. Do I think Bitcoin will run to the upside? I just told you exactly what he told you. The Clarity Act redefined Bitcoin as a commodity. My friends, that means you need to buy it. It is now a monetary asset, and I can't tell you that any other way. I will say something very quickly, just so you don't think I'm a complete raving lunatic, although I'm pretty sure we passed that mark a while back. For something to be monetary, just so you understand, it's not, I don't just get up here and go, it's monetary and therefore it is. No, something to be monetary, it has to have certain elements and it has to have certain uniqueness about it. Does that make sense? So if I showed you a four-wheel drive, it would have to have certain features for it to be a four-wheel drive, right? Otherwise, it's going to be a run-around shopping cart that goes to Coles every day. There is monetary assets that are very specific, and I just want to quickly help you with one thing. Here are the things you need to know. You've got to look for assets that are undervalued. If you're going to be successful, buy assets that are undervalued. That immediately counts out real estate. We didn't even get past the first one. Why? Real estate's value, you get value, who believes that real estate's a great asset to purchase? Australia is number 3 right now in the world, behind China and Canada, for the most overpriced real estate in the world. Sydney is the most expensive in Australia, followed by Melbourne, followed by Brisbane, and they're kind of almost equal now. So you wouldn't buy it. Number 1 in Australia, at least, I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Number 2, and this is critical, is it needs to be liquid. Is real estate liquid? Can it be converted easily into something usable? No. So it fails on that one. And number 3, it needs to be a store of value over time, apart from the other 7 that I list in my first book. I'll just go with 3. It needs to be a store of value over time. Real estate failed again. Is it a store of value over time? I doubt it. It could be argued it used to be. Who said it used to be? It could be argued. It could be argued that once upon a time in history there was a fair and reasonable argument for that. But not anymore. Come to Melbourne. We'll buy you a dog box for $1 million in a fractional lending system on a debased currency and watch people get destroyed. It's an absolute travesty, and the only way you can even remotely win on real estate in a country like Australia with an investment property is to negative gear it. Which basically means you're buying a dog box that's going backwards and you're losing on it, but the government will give you a tax break to encourage you to do it. But they don't tell you that your central bank is sitting off the starboard bow, waiting to drop interest rates to get you to buy it and then to bump interest rates up to destroy you. And you're going to do it. You're going to do it. Why? Because that's what you think you're meant to do. No. I'm telling you, as a monetary investor, as very successful monetary investors, and I'm not saying that we have lots and lots of dollars, because my number 1 wealth asset is health. My number 1 asset is health. My number 2 is community and family. Family first, community second, but pretty much line ball. I don't get to monetary until the 3rd one. Health, family, I say it every day on my channel, monetary. Right? Look after your health first. Look after your families, for God's sakes. And get learning very quickly. So here's what you're going to do, or here's what I think you should do. Buy undervalued assets, buy assets that are highly liquid, can be converted quickly to something, because you don't know what you're going to be converting that to just yet. You're not going to be spending gold and silver at Safeway and Coles, so please don't write to me and tell me that. I can't deal with that one more time. And the final one And the most important one, and I can't tell you this enough, is you need to have an asset that can traverse a reset. That's nothing in the legacy system. That's everything's gone. The legacy system is gone there. Legacy is anything based on currencies. Anything you could buy with a fiat currency is gone. People say to me, oh, but I buy gold and silver with a fiat currency. That's the only one that's different. People don't generally buy monetary assets with currency. They go buy legacy, stocks and bonds and all the garbage. So those are the, if I could tell you three things, buy undervalued assets, gold, silver, Bitcoin. Silver will hit October this year and hit a banana peel and slide to the upside. It's not our fault. If you choose not to purchase, that's your choice. It ran 5x since I started my channel. 500% against real estate that did nothing. It's decentralized. Where's your gold and silver, Mr. Go the Hat? I don't know. I know where it is. Taxman always writes to us, doesn't he, Kylie? Where's your silver? Where's your silver? Lost it in a boating accident. Buried it in the ground. Couldn't tell you where. No idea. So, three things, very quickly and I'll finish. Number one, buy assets that are undervalued. Number two, buy assets that are highly liquid, because you're going to need to convert to something, most likely central bank digital currency. And you'll get a lot of central bank digital currency when you're holding silver and gold. Trust me. When they collapse that dollar by 90 to 100%, yes?
Regarding buying undervalued, would that all, I know you're trying to exclude real estate, but there are people that specialise in buying distressed properties that people can't sustain anymore, and they buy them at a rock bottom price and then they renovate them and then sell them at a profit. Is that, you include those or not?
No, we're monetary. So I should be clear because I skipped over a whole bunch of stuff. There's a very important chapter in this book called The Four Positions of the Dollar. You need to understand first, there's just one more little bit we just go quickly over. Number one, you spend dollars. Number two, you save dollars. Number three, you trade dollars. Real estate sits at position 3. It's a trading asset. Number 4, you become wealthy. So you invest. That's the final point. My point is that it doesn't matter what you do with real estate here. It doesn't matter. It's fully remunerated and based on currencies. The problem with real estate, when you purchase it, it's a dead capital asset. It has no liquidity. It is not a store of value, or at least it doesn't look to me like it is. In other words, if you can't outrun inflation with it, then what's the point of it? It's heavily taxed, heavily regulated, and you don't own it. What are you doing? And you borrow it mostly from a commercial bank with 10% down, and they produce the rest out of thin air, called a fractional lending system. You will pay $228,000 on average for an average dog box in an average city on a property over 25 years. And in that time, your currency will have been debased so many times that you'll need about 3 jobs, you and your wife, to have any hope of paying down any part of that, that mortgage that moves up and down depending on how the Reserve Bank feels about its interest rates on any given day. So, would I touch real estate? No. Would I rent? That's a different question. Because when you rent, where's your capital? My capital is in commodities. Commodities that ran 500%. And they will do it again. And they will do it again. And that's how it goes. So, in answer to the question, do I think real estate is undervalued? I'm not talking about in the sense of can you get a bargain somewhere. I'm talking about holistically in Australia, this is not a real estate place. If you want cheap, you know where you go? Where's some creative places you could go to get cheap?
Bali.
Bali. Bali. I bought a set of fake Nikes for like $2. And I'm not kidding. The guy said, these are real. These real fake. Nike.
Yeah, the real face.
Rolex watch. Give you a Rolex watch. $2. Real value. Real value.
And we bought into one fake government too.
So my point is, Bali, you could get incredible real estate in Bali. Thailand. I know what people... But go to Australia? No. Not over now.
With Bali, Thailand, is that like this? What's to come into place with this digital money? Do you think countries like that will have to catch up? Will it take a longer time for them to put into that system, or is it going to sort of happen worldwide?
I think the key would be the US dollar. I think really the world reserve currency is still a major influence on the world, how currencies are valued. You've got to understand too, yes is my answer to that. I do think some of these other countries will come into play because their central banks are part of the subsidiaries of the Bank for International Settlements. I mean, they still have central banks. So paper currencies will give way to digital currencies because the central banks are going to want to trade on these rails. They're going to want liquidity on these rails. So they're going to have to come into play at some point. So yes, I do see that, and the other thing is a great question because all the currencies around the world are valued differently. I mean, if you take the Australian dollar to Bali, it's going to perform very differently than if you go to the US. So there's not a lot of parity there. So I guess my point here is at some point all the central banks around the world will go digital. That is exactly what the giant guy called Augustin Carstens at the Bank for International Settlements, if you haven't seen him, Google him because you need a widescreen to get him on there. And I'll tell you what, I mean, that's not an unfair thing to say, but you think these guys aren't laughing at you when the most powerful institution on the planet has a guy that's so big he can't even get in a lift. And I'm not joking. He can't get in a lift. I don't know how he gets up to the border. But the point is, he has already come out and said that we are going fully digital through our central bank system. And there's 63 subsidiary central banks, and a lot of them are through those regions as well. You've also got to understand something else too, and you raise a good point, is that BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, Iran. Iran. Do we hear Iran, Mr. Go in the Hat? I don't even want to go there. Iran and United Arab Emirates and Indonesia.
Tim, do you mind, last time you were here you said that Iran was on the verge of signing up to BRICS, so have they since signed up to BRICS?
Well, that's why do you think the US has gone after Iran? Anybody? I mean, I did a video 2 years ago on my Spotify. You can go back and look at it, called The Road to China. The Road to China was what's going to happen to Iran in the future. I have nailed it. I have people write to me going, this is like a Simpsons episode. You nailed it. Note for note, dollar for dollar, second for second. I never missed a beat. Not because I'm a smart guy, but because I studied the flow of monetary systems. The US has gone after Iran. Why? Anybody? Which nation can't they touch? China.
China and Russia both are in key.
Russia. Thank you. Which two nations have been trading together because they were sanctioned by the US because they're naughty. They're not using US dollars. Russia and Iran created their own trading rails because they were banned from using the SWIFT system. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, been around since 1974. They were banned from using it. So Russia and Iran got together and they said, you know what? We don't need the US. And the US spat the dummy. And they decided that what they would do is make America great again. No, they're trying to save the failing US dollar. Because guess which nation holds the cards on the planet right now? Of all the nations, and I spoke about this so many times, and I am right on this. Guess which nation holds the cards to the end of the US dollar?
China.
No. Someone always yells at Israel. Doesn't matter what you say, someone always says Israel. Like, who developed the telecoms? Israel! No. Which nation? Come on.
Britain.
No. I'll give you a clue. OPEC. Think OPEC nations.
Saudi Arabia.
Say it louder.
Saudi Arabia.
Yes! I'm sorry if anybody else mentioned Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Why? Anybody? Yes, oil. But what is Saudi Arabia threatening to do?
Not trade in US dollars.
Not trade in US dollars.
And join BRICS.
Yes and yes. Correct and correct. Go to the top of the class. If Saudi Arabia were to join BRICS, they are required to denounce the US dollar through something called de-dollarization. What did I say the US dollar is pegged to? Oil. There is no agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia to do so. It's just a handshake agreement. And the US is allowed to do what in the Middle East in exchange for trading oil in US dollars? They're allowed to go and blast the crap out of anybody they want to. They can blow up Iraq, they can blow up Iran, they can blow up these guys. They can do all of that. They can fund their ridiculous military program and look like the superpower that they are, provided they have an alliance with Saudi Arabia. Well, Saudi Arabia was invited to join BRICS in 2025, I think at the start. They joined for about half an hour. And then they got a phone call. It's Trumpy here. Just got off the Epstein thing, and I was just going to say, so he told them, or the military-industrial complex told them, cease and desist, Saudi Arabia. You don't want this. Now, Saudi Arabia do want this. They very much want to be part of BRICS. And when they do it, that is the end of the US dollar. Because the only reason the US dollar has any worth at all is because 60+% of the central banks around the world keep the US dollars in their reserve vaults for the purposes of trading oil. That's it. Once that little buggy's gone, it's all over. Yes?
Tim, Saudi Arabia, I've spoken to someone from Jordan about the Greater Israel project, and he said all of the countries around Israel have just all bought into aligned with Israel for the Greater Israel project. So wouldn't they be like that, all that region there that all just sold into the Greater Israel project, and they're in line with Israel for the Greater expansion of Israel? So
Saudi Arabia aligning with Israel?
You're talking about the Abraham Accords today, and that was a condition that Trump was trying to force on Iran, joining the Abraham Accords.
Well, again, the problem is Israel is not a BRICS nation, and Iran is. So is Russia. And the problem for the US is that the UN Security Council creates major problems for the United States being able to actually throw its weight around. You've got to understand one thing, that the US dollar is heavily weaponized. There's only two things right now that keep the US dollar trading. One of them is at the end of a bayonet. The other is confidence. And let me tell you, and this is how it plays. The second confidence is lost in the US dollar, see you later. The second the confidence is lost, it is all over. Do I see Saudi Arabia aligning themselves with Israel in some way? What I do see is they could potentially join the Eastern Economic Alliance of BRICS. These are very different things, and if they do that, they are obligated.
But it's already happening with Saudi Arabia, because China has actually opened up gold vaults in Saudi Arabia. So they can actually pay for their
oil in gold, Bitcoin.
Or they pay it with yuans, but they say you can, anytime you like, you can exchange your yuan with gold, and the gold's already in your country in the vault.
It's, you know, this has been going on for a little while now, since about 2009, 2010, 2011, but I will promise you, and you are right, sir, Saudi Arabia is a major OPEC nation. They are a major strategic oil nation, one of the largest oil reserves on the planet, number 2 in the world, and if they align with the BRICS nations, which means they start trading with China, guys, well, the US can't touch China. That's why they'll attack anybody and everybody. They can't touch Russia. That's why they'll attack anybody and everybody. They won't touch Russia, they'll touch Ukraine, they'll touch Iran, they'll touch anybody, just not Russia. Just not China.
So if that happens, then if Saudi step away, America collapses. Again, they're trying to have the US dollar be the power in the world. Well, it's time for them to dissolve and let someone else.
Well, the problem is the US won't just fall over and roll over on their back. The US created something called the Genius Act so that they could start trading on rails other than the conventional trading rails that the US dollar is used to trading on. And I think what we're going to see, I think the US is very well aware that at $39 trillion worth of debt on a currency that has no value, it's pretty hard to sell it to the rest of the world. And their arch rival is this trading group, this BRICS trading group. There is no question in my mind that this has become 10 strong now. I mean, if you have a look at the nations that are involved, India is a major nation. I mean, talking Russia, India, China, these are massive nations, completely de-dollarising. And the US is running around like a whack-a-mole, hitting nations over the head that dare trade with China. They did it with Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela has the largest oil reserves of any country on earth by orders of magnitude. But they somehow circumvented Venezuela because Venezuela dared to trade with China. They did it with Iran. All Iran's oil pipes are running through Pakistan. There's about 5 major oil lines that run through to China. And China hasn't stopped its production. So my point here is that, I guess in the end, all I'm going to say here is that this is how I believe this will end. So I don't want to ramble on and on. I know there's other people that need to speak about. But that's how I see this big game changer is Saudi. That's my opinion. I've said that for a while now. Anyway, I want to step aside. I can see some other people want to say something. Thanks, guys. Thank you.